And how about that? And I'm sure I did that all. Test. There we go. The power turned off. So I had the wrong mic set up because I was recording stuff for videos because I was finally getting to work. I'm sure I didn't look like a lunatic or anything there. Let's go over that again. I'm sure shaking and jingling my hands all around didn't make me look at all like a lunatic. So, forgive me for that. Reminder, no spoilers. If spoilers mean anything from Endwalker, any major reveal from any expansion. If you wouldn't have wanted it spoiled for you, then don't spoil it for others. Up to the point that we are at. Thank you, Raren. Kirleia! Indeed. Lolly ho, bean. Lolly ho, hi he ho. La he ho? That what you could possibly be foreshadowing, Des. We're in Crystal Curl, our secondary trees in Crystarium near the Cabinet of Curiosity. Yes, usually we hang out in the Aft Castle. However, today we are not. Or for the small bit of time while we're in Shadowbringers, we will not. Raven, good to see, glad to have you. Tracy, lolly ho to you. Ryan, good to see, glad to have you. Happy Valentine's Day, all. Glad to be able to share with y'all. Yes, I'm glad to be able to share with you guys as well. I'm very excited too. I was very, very excited too, and still am, but I also was like, haha, I'm working, I'm getting things done, haha. And then I was like, you know, I think I'm about to crash. It's a good thing I don't have to worry about anything because I stream today. Oh, I stream in 5 minutes. Luckily, I think we'll have a good time. And then we had all this happen. Willow, good to see, glad to have you. I hope you are currently healing. Yep, everyone's realizing my mic was broken. Can't hear you. Yeah. Decoy, good to see, glad to have you. Tam, good to see, glad to have you. Bling, good to see, glad to have you. Can't speak loud. Audio's out of sync like yesterday. A little bit out of sync. Huh. Well, luckily that's an easy fix. Let me know if this is better or worse. And also, I'm gonna check. Do we have access to the next? We do. Okay, cool. So we have our setup. We can do our setup. You guys let me know if this is worse or better. Seems better. Yeah, for some reason it keeps having me switch flip-flop every so often. Kudodo! Good to see you, glad to have you! Icky? I'm giving Hollow Knight Steel Soul Mode another shot. Nice. Jolly! Good to see you, glad to have you. Deathberry! Good to see you, glad to have you. Glad to see you could get us early. Okay, cool. I don't know if we'll have a dungeon today. Well, we might have the Ronkin dungeon today. We'll see. But, in the meantime, let us go get our warm-up going by starting with our, role quests for tank. How's everybody doing today? How are y'all enjoying your Valentine's Day? Either solo or otherwise. Good, thanks. Good, Tracy. So I'm hoping to either have it out tonight, although I may need some extra footage cabbage. We've got a short coming out tomorrow for Valentine's Day that was Ray Ray's idea about a conspiracy around chocolate making and Valentine's Day in 14. Let's just say there's basically a chocolate making cartel. We're releasing a short for now, but we're thinking about releasing a longer, like, full video because we started and I was like, here's a funny idea that's like a minute long, and then it kept growing and growing and growing, so I actually had to cut a bunch out. Been pretty good, just waiting to get home and spend the evening with my boyfriend. Aw, cute. I had a mild panic attack, but calmed down. Got pop-up talking about how I've been visiting your server. too long, so I guess back to my lonely home server I go. Oh, well, I mean, Raven, you can always swap right back. I have Lend come over to Curl frequently, even though Lend's technically on Solera. All set to embark on our great hunt, Elio. Then let us be about it. Before you ask, I have no intention of leading us out into the wilds without even an inkling of What was it you guys said? Dicko sign? Dicko sign's whereabouts. Norvrand may not be a particularly large realm, even before the flood, but it'd take us a dozen lifetimes to scour every nook and cranny. So we'll start by asking around a place I know for a fact that Hydaelyn has attacked before. The village of Wright on Calusia. There's too much there's too much like narrative weight that's gonna come around that character. I can't keep saying Dicko sign. Well, I don't have a reason to believe you will return. I'd like to think that the survivors might know. Something of value. And after all, you can be sure that they hadn't forgotten the day the bastard came through. So let's be off then. Dicko sign. Luckily for once, we actually went and got that. I'm sorry you had a panic attack, Raven. Those are no fun. Yeah, the good news means right. The good news, you can always come back. V ready to all talk. I'm sorry, V. But V was just ready with the dick. Now, the point of that pop-up is to make sure that you visit your home server and all characters' data can be updated so it's not in danger of being lost or anything. And you can check your retainers real quick, which is always handy. Welcome to Wright. I reckon it might not seem much like to you, but to me, well, never mind. We'll save the conversation for after. Tracking down Dicosine is what matters most. Let's split up and ask after the bastard. Better odds of turning up useful information that way, I'd wager. Having been freezing cold most of the day, but a good day so far. It's actually been not necessarily super warm here, but it's been okay. I'm only the messenger in Roasted's honor. I did the laundry today and got x-rays of my hands. Most likely I have carpal tunnel. Oh, Ryan, that's no fun. That's no fun at all. I've had major carpal tunnel flare-ups in my life. You have my empathy. I misread your thing for a second. I said I did laundry and it gave me, like, and I got x-rays from the laundry. And I was about to say, like, what kind of laundry machine do you have? What do you want of me? That reminds me of have any of you seen The Lighthouse? Edgar's movie, oh, I'm forgetting, Roger Edgar's? Did, like, The Witch and The Northmen, and it's got, it has Green Goblin and Edward/Batman, Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. And there's a part where they just like you're sitting there for a solid like 2 minutes, just going what at each other. It's a very strange film. You should watch it. The Sin Eaters, the one that came and killed everyone. Oh gods, is it here? And why are you talking about him? Oh, I know I should stay inside. There's nothing but death out here now. Death and horror and eaters and So might have some PTSD. I mean, pretty much probably this whole world is PTSD. Yeah, they've probably just been waiting for me all sad, like, to summon that. Yeah, I misread like that too. Like, what are you doing laundry with a particle accelerator? I mean, I'm sure it'll get you clean. Sarah, good to see, glad to have you. How you doing? I wish I had a particle accelerator. What would you do with it, Ryan? If you're gonna make me question a whole bunch of them, the least you can do is make them like readily apparent where they are. Okay, the old man was there. Ah. What? That's like the farthest edge of the ring. Why would I? Whatever. Huh? Where did you come from? And what do you want with me? Dicosine, the thrice damned eater that's the spitting image of Galgent's knight? Ah, that's Dicosine? I can't help you. All I know is that when he came, he... Wicked White, if you had seen the carnage you... I'm sorry. I can't talk about this. They appreciate... V here being the totemic representation of roasted. I guess not totem, well, like, more like the avatar than totem. Particle other things, what else? Firing all cannons with the particle accelerator. Also, once I didn't sleep until 2, I woke up at 12 p.m. still this morning, but hey. It happens, Raven. Generate physical research blind of course. I'm home safe after driving among people who do not know how to drive in the rain. That is... Oh my god, man. When people don't know how to drive on ice or in the rain, it is scary. Well, learn anything? Wish I could say I'm surprised, but I'm not. What we saw that day, what he did to us, there's no moving from that. What exactly happened here, and what is your connection to the village anyways? Well, I was planning to tell you the whole story eventually, but I suppose now is as good a time as any. I was born and raised in Wright. Like in any real prospects, I eked out a living as a hunter. Might have tried my hand at something more exciting had I not also been trying to provide for the love of my life, Melinda. It was about a year ago that she accepted a commission from this Eorzean trader, bloked out mostly in antiques and had the bracelet in need of restoration. Bloody old with questionable provenance, but supposedly it once belonged to royalty or some such. The Fang of Orthus, he called it. Me and her been talking about trying to tie in the proverbial knot. Buying land, building a home, that sort of thing. Around here that might not take much, but it's still a lot more than we had, so when the trader made his offer, she didn't hesitate to say yes. I'd gone down to the shipyards to pick up extra tools and materials she needed for the work. Quality stuff, but it paid for itself 10 times over. When I got back to Wright, Deciphering had been busy, spied at least a dozen newborn eaters flutting about trying to make sense of their new lot. Grandmother lived next door, shared the fruits of her orchard with us. The gruff woodsman brought firewood to our doorstep in the dead of winter. Both of them reduced to mindless fiends just like that. It wasn't time to mourn or to think. I started looking for Melinda. And then there she was, alive and well. Our eyes met and we knew it was going to be all right. We ran for each other. Even now, a year later, it doesn't feel real. One moment she was there, right there in front of me. The next, she was... Deciphering knelt and took the fangs of Orthus, and then left, leading a host of sin-eaters out of Wright. But Melinda, I still couldn't see her as anything else. She wouldn't budge, she just hovered there and started waiting for me to end it. Well, could never say no to her, so not once in the years we'd been together. For all the times she'd welcomed me home with a bowl of her hot stew, all the time she laughed at my crude jokes and gave me counsel when I was losing my way. For all that and more, I killed her. I swore then and I'd have my vengeance. Deciphering would be a die by my hand. I carved the scars into my flesh to mirror the ones he left on my soul, an enduring reminder of the vow that I never dare stray from the path. There, all done. No need to wallow in it. Wouldn't want my tragic yet tried tale to put you off our hunt. Still with me to the end, sinner? That's the spirit. Still, I've some unfinished business here, so if you could give me a moment before we resume, I would be most grateful. Oh, that's the next one. Okay. That's our warm-up. Cool. We'll go ahead and get going then. Into the MSQ. Accelerates in particles. My first experience. Hey, Quinn, good to see. Glad to have you. With 14, with someone singing "Do You Know" with an automaton. What a way to start. No different than the rest. Kind of shame to say this, but I haven't learned how to drive yet because of fear of other drivers on the road. Glad you're safe, Sarah. Raven, if it makes you feel any better, I don't have a driver's license because I get panic attacks when I drive. So when I go like above a certain speed limit on the road with other people, so it's just basically dangerous. I technically know how to drive, but you're not alone. I bus, walk, and bike most places. Although luckily I've had partners who do a lot of driving for me with of late.
All seems well at the Crystarium.
Yes. Yormor was plainly more concerned with finding us. How flattering.
Hey, where's Willow when you need her? And so it begins.
You certainly took your time. I had half resolved to complete the task myself.
And you are...
Were one to study the annals of Garlean history, one would find yonder visage on many a page. Though by rights its youth should long since have faded.
Well, well, we have a historian in our midst. That spares me a lengthy explanation. I am Solus Sos Galvus, founding father of the Garlean Empire, and under various guises, the architect of myriad other imperially inclined nations. As for my true identity, I am Emet-Selch, Eorzean.
Gaius spoke of you, a native of the Source.
Equal in rank to La Habrea. And you came all this way just to introduce yourself to us?
Behold the sky, restored to its former glory. Have you ever seen a more affecting spectacle?
Such a drama queen.
Oh, it is truly, deeply infuriating. Do you have any idea how much you have delayed the rejoining? Following the flood, the First had been listing ever further towards the light, towards stasis. The end was in sight. Enter man and his indomitable spirit. He would haul the world back from the brink. And adding his lumpen weight to the power of growth, he duly tipped the scales, if only by a fraction. Yet a fraction was enough to spoil the perfect imbalance needed to bring about a rejoining.
Dude, what a line read.
Had mankind continued to live in idleness under Vorrcer's rule, all the conditions would have been met. But you had to come and ruin it all. Thanks to your meddling, light supremacy is in doubt, and our painstakingly laid plans are in tatters!
Okay, good to see, glad to have you. Thank you
begin
very
by
much.
thanking you
Appreciate
for
the compliment. Hope you
confirming
continue to
Urianger's
enjoy it.
theories on the inner workings of the Calamity. He will be most pleased.
Oh, thank
As
you.
for what happens next, might I suggest you admit defeat and walk away?
Happy to let me go, are you? Because the murderous glint in your eye suggests otherwise. Indeed, it is enough to make me think better of confronting you alone. Look, it did cross my mind to simply side with Vorrcer and kill you all. But that's no different from what La Habre did. And we all know how well that ended for him. And so, while it is liable to be troublesome, I have settled upon a different approach. Cooperation. I will not raise a hand to hinder your hunt for the Light Wardens. If you desire it, I will even lend you my knowledge and strength.
They do more to characterize him in this one scene than La Habre gets in the entirety
Since
of
time
ARR.
immemorial, you and yours have labored to rejoin the 13 shards, at the cost of countless lives. Do you expect us to believe that your objective has suddenly changed?
Nay, our objective is the same as it ever was. Though I dare say, you do not know our motive. A war waged without knowledge of the enemy is no war. It is mere bloodletting. Just once. Might we not seek to find common ground?
He's manipulating, but he's also sincere.
For good or ill, I am immortal. Provided I have the inclination, I can always begin anew, scheme and conspire to my heart's content. But this time I thought that I might instead try to see eye to eye, to understand what drives the hero of the source, to determine if our goals are truly incompatible. So come, shed your preconceptions. See beyond the unscrupulous villains you take us for. When all is said and done, we may find ourselves pleasantly surprised. The proud discoverers of a path of cooperation rather than opposition. Think of it.
This is how he's won thus far. Eorzean just seen
Thou hast
through him.
delivered thy proposal, and we would not dismiss it outright. If I may offer thee counsel, however, to make thy case via an illusion reflecteth poorly upon thy sincerity.
God, Eorzean gets so much more in this.
My
expansion.
apologies. You will forgive me if I'm not entirely at ease in the presence of a famed Ascian slayer. I felt it only prudent to take precautions. Nonetheless, your counsel is duly noted.
You ever notice that his outfit's the same color
I
as the
take my
Exarch's?
leave, friends. Rest assured, we shall meet again soon.
It's just different ratios, but it's the same color. Like, well, I'll save it for a second. We're actually doing good on time, so we can take our time. Car crash definitely suck. On the bright side, I got a strong head, and I'm counting up my head trying to get into the vehicle. Ray had a driving lesson once. Emmett, he's so evil yet so handsome. Copy, people excited. Can you read me a bedtime stories from now on? I don't think the voice actor's on Cameo, but I mean, I feel like if enough people asked him to read, like, go the fuck to sleep. God, I love him and his drama. You said it in my playthrough, it's raining. You brought back the sky and ruined my day. I hope you're happy. Yeah, basically. Daniel, good to see, glad to have you. I just do like leaving my man baby in charge of the remnants of the world. I mean, it's interesting though, because he's not really a man-child, right? In terms of like, he's not like it's unfair, blah, 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 blah. He's just tired. So from that line, it makes it seem like us coming along and being a spark of activity is the real key to reversing the stasis. Yeah. No, so explicitly, if the Warrior of Light had not come, we would not have... The Flood of Light would have been just effectively eventually would have been enough to ambiently take over what remained. So the intercession of the Exarch and the Warrior of Light here is what is helping to halt and, to an extent, ultimately reverse. Although we'll get more into that in Eden. If you enjoyed the stream and aren't a member of our Discord, why not come join us at https://discord.gg/discord.gg/archive. Thank you, Raven. Would we ever get Emmett's outfit in game or not? I wouldn't say it's impossible. I mean, up to this point, I don't think they tend to give us a lot of Garlean stuff. I mean, I think they do with, what, Babel? But typically they tend to kind of avoid it. But I don't think it's impossible. I would wonder if there's kind of the modeling for it because of his slouch and stuff, and he's a custom model, might make it somewhat difficult. But I mean, hey, we got Omega, so, you know, we got Omega's outfit. So I think it's possible. I couldn't tell you when. Eorzean used his trap card. He's so tired and lonely. Yeah. He hasn't had a proper audience in so long. I'm sure La Habre and Elidibus don't put up with this shit. We know for a fact they don't. We know that La Habre is too, like, gone crazy, just doesn't care, and then Elidibus just doesn't react to his stuff anymore. He just like, whatever. We have a job to do. Cooperation? He cannot be serious, can he? Well, we've certainly been given much to ponder. But first things first, we should report to the Exarch. You can run along, Elio. We're perfectly capable of handling this little task. In light of your recent exertions, I'd say you've earned a rest. Go on and take yourself off to bed. We'll see you later, refreshed and ready for more. I do love that they end each chapter. So, like, one of the cool tactics they do, right, is you each, at the end of each little arc, you get a bit where you go and rest, which gives you these moments of reflection, or these moments with Arbor, or, like, it means that you're excited for multiple parts of each thing. Instead of rather just, like, wanting, like, immediately, like, okay, just give me the next part of the story. So, like, there's, like, oh, what little bit are we gonna get by talking to Arbor, you know, or stuff like that. Emet-Selch's outfit has a match for the shirt, which I think is the gambler's shirt. Interesting. Since you two were contractually obligated to say like, lick, and share. Lick, share, and subscribe. Oh, please don't lick this. Oh, no, Bean tried to. Clicking is fine. Sorry, Bean. Take my money. Emet-Selch, the fun Ascian. Well, the entertaining Ascian. I feel like fun might be a stretch too far. I mean, he's entertaining in a fun way, granted, but there's some caveats along with it. Ah, welcome back, sir. We've been expecting you. You'll find refreshments laid out in your quarters. We hope they are to your liking. Will you be retiring now? Very good, sir. I bid you a pleasant evening. Shadowbringers really is pray take a nap, the expansion. I mean, only at its chapter ends. Nice, Kolek. That sounds cool. Are you going to get the totemic representation, or of, like, her and from the final version we get? Also, though, careful of spoilers. Because I feel like I might get the totemic representation if I was to get one. Decoy, did I say hi? Because if not, good to see you, glad to have you. He's fun until your back is turned. Well, he's not exactly black side. Okay, a slight spoiler, but dude, the food physics in 6.3 were amazing. I hope these past few days have not been overly taxing. Pray, take your rest and recover.
From the Exarch, is it? With that mirror of his, he can watch your every move, you know. You probably think you're talking to yourself. Still, he's keeping you well fed. Judging by his people's faith in him, he seems to be a decent sort. But so much about him remains shrouded in mystery. Like, what was he doing back in my day? There was no such person when I was around. A lot's happened since the flood, though. Since I was set adrift. I know little more than you do of this city's history in the Exarch's past. Not that it matters. It's Emet-Selch we should be concerned about. When our world was about to be consumed by light, the Ascian in white appeared before us. He said that the only way for us to live on was to bring about the rejoining. Desperate as we were, we heeded his words, not realizing that the flood was of the Ascian's own making. They cannot be trusted. None of them. But Emet-Selch had one thing right. One should not fight blindly.
The amount we're allowed to learn from...
And it cost us everything we held dear.
The amount we're allowed to learn from his mistakes is wonderful. Such good use of writing and such good use of the setup that that Ishikawa did in 3.4. Oh. God, why do they let us be such an asshole? There's so many asshole options like in the mid part of Shadowbringers. Tell me about Seto. What was he like?
What? What about Seto? What is there to say? All right. He's done some growing. When we were traveling together, he was nowhere near as big. And he obviously couldn't speak. I had no idea how much that medallion meant to him. What about you, anyway? You must have a friend like Seto. Chocobo, perhaps?
Milkshake!
Come on, you tell me something for a change.
Adam, good to see you. Glad to have you. It's funny because sometimes, Daniel, I agree with you. I didn't think that was one of the times, but there are some times where I'm definitely with you. Good morning to you, sir. I do hope you are well rested. The Exarch and your companions are presently gathered in the octagon. He asks that you convene with them at your earliest convenience. Convenient convening. That could be a good band name. I always get excited when they told me the character rest at the inn, knowing my favorite ghost boy will show up. Yeah, he's fun in my headcanon. Ghost boyfriend time. Dude, Arbert's the best. I love Arbert. I love Arbert because Arbert is a hero, but he's also like the hero who fails, and he's also like Arbert's a great story. Arbert is a great character because he gets to be multifaceted while also being very classical in some ways. Love to have an Amano dual art as a tattoo. Yeah, I mean Amano does just good stuff. Final version, yeah. Uger. Steam buns, steam buns, steam buns. I'm just like I have to imagine myself like living 1,000 years bored out of my mind, not taking anything seriously anymore. Yeah, I mean, like, that's partly clearly the case, Daniel, is, like, I think there's two full things. One of which is, and I won't spoil it because we haven't gotten there yet, but you think about his disposition because of his mission, and the way in which that weighs on him, and the way in which he wants to hide the way in which it weighs on him, and then also how he tries to entertain himself to get through. Yeah, that clinking seemed uncomfy. Well, let's see, is there anything... Yeah, these are going to dig into your back if you try to sleep, the pauldrons. It depends on how malleable this is, but the fact that when I breathe, like, the entire thing shifts rather than just the plates into each other, yeah, those are going to dig in. That's not going to be fun. Yeah, it's not going to be a great time sleeping in that. Always got to be ready. Yeah, exactly, Adam. Oh, Raven asked a question? Right, I think they used to have an option for, in 1.0, for glamour option for underclothes, so you would sleep in that specific set. Then once the end cutscenes ended, you'd be in normal gear. Interesting. I had no idea about that, Tam. I'm surprised they don't allow that currently. I guess it's such a specific thing that, like, why go back and change that? Do you have business with the Crystal Exarch? Just say the word, and I would be happy to escort you to the Oculus. Daniel, I have I have at least a recommendation for you. I just need to remember what it is.
Ah, there you are. You're just in time to welcome our guest.
Technically speaking, Lightning Returns does that, but Lightning Returns is also a terrible game. Well, it's a terrible game if you like good writing. Otherwise, it's probably okay. See, look at how they have the same color.
Did I not explicitly tell you that we would be meeting again soon?
Just different ratios.
Lest you forget, I made you a promise. I have no intention of meddling with your mission. I come only to observe. Your exarch friend in particular has piqued my curiosity. Summoning you all like that. Most impressive.
You honestly expect us to believe you've come only to observe? Or that you might deign to lift a finger to aid our cause if called upon? Even if there were a sliver of truth in your words, I would never accept your help. Not in my darkest hour. Not after all the suffering your kind has wrought.
He's not wrong.
So petty. I meant what I said, and I said what I meant.
And Ascian's full of bullshit, 100%.
Wage your war against the Sin Eaters. Put each and every Light Warden to the sword. Prove yourselves heroes, brave and true, and I will be glad to embrace you as allies. Allies worthy of bearing the burden of truth. Surely such a partnership would be preferable to yet another round of fisticuffs.
He's lied by omission, but yes, you're right, Tam. He has not directly said
And
this.
thus did the olive branch wither and die. Pity. Well, let no man say I did not try, futile as it was. Though I suspect you will seek me out when you grow tired of making the same mistakes. Difficult decisions lie ahead of you. Decisions best made with the benefit of knowledge to which only the Eternal are privy.
God, the cinematography in Shadowbringers is such a step up from prior expansions. It's not even like crazy, doing anything crazy.
For now, I shall resume my shadowy vigil. Whatever you choose to do, make sure it's worth watching, would you?
It's interesting. The most amount of content we ever got was
What was
actually
that
in
all about?
Stormblood.
A vain attempt to make us doubt our chosen course, most like. As if we'd believe a word that passed his lips. Unless you think there is some truth in what he says.
Ooh, that's hard. A colonel, perhaps, but he better not cross us.
If he simply meant to lead us astray, he could have done so without revealing himself. At least, not in the manner he did. It goes without saying that an alliance with the Ascians is out of the question. But since we have no way of knowing where they might be hiding, it seems only logical to press on with our mission, even if our enemy seems content for it to succeed.
Then let us discuss the Sin Eaters. I would begin by thanking you all for your efforts thus far. In striking down the Light Wardens of Lakeland and Ilmeg, you have accomplished more in your short time here than all of our forces managed in the last century.
That may be, but the Wardens of Calusia, Armarang, and Raktika remain.
Indeed, and their precise whereabouts are as yet unknown. Which is why I propose we divide our forces and conduct a systematic survey of each region. Once we have found our quarry, we may then determine how best to proceed.
I'll take Armarang in that case. I know the lie of the land well enough.
If there are no objections, I will make for Calusia. I have connections there both in and around Yulmore that may prove useful.
Then I would ask that you journey to Raktika. There you will find Y'shtola. With her assistance, I doubt the Warden will evade your grasp for long.
Is Y'shtola the conjurer you and Eorzean used to talk about?
That's right. Though we haven't spoken much since she left for the forest.
I fear I may be to blame for that. I had every intention of relaying the news of your arrival, but she is disinclined to speak with me.
Y'shtola being judgy.
You have visited her, have you not? Might I trouble you to...
It would be no trouble.
My thanks. While you are all out in the field, I shall be here attending to business. I had somewhat fancifully contemplated joining the search myself, but other matters demand my attention.
What's that?
He got invited to Smash Bros!
A missive from Lord Vorrcer.
Oh.
He invites me to join him in Yulmore to discuss the recent conflict at Lida Luran.
And? Did he even bother to offer any bait? It's obviously a trap.
I should be surprised if it were not. Nevertheless, I must seize this opportunity to speak with him, even if only a few words are exchanged. Though my power will be much diminished so far from the tower, it is a risk I am willing to take. Master Alphino, might I impose upon you to accompany me to Yulmore prior to beginning your reconnaissance?
Of course.
Then let us make ready. Safe travels to you all.
I love how he references the olive branch here, similar to how Varys does in Stormblood. Yeah. The repetitions of ideas across, like, of how he's inextricably linked to Garlemald is really interesting. Speaking of Y'shtola, has anyone seen Final Fantasy Instagram's post for today? No. What is it? Jellybean. It's not quite in the invitation Smash Bros. Why not come join us at https://discord.gg/archives. Thanks, Bean. You're right, he omitted information, but he doesn't say anything that's false. Yeah. But, like, you can say that he's not a liar, but you can't say he's not manipulating. Like, and he's not viciously manipulating. I don't know how much the second part of that's true, but we do have a lot of other things, Daniel. Before you leave, I would make a request of you. There's a church, or rather the ruins of a church at Fort Job. Might I ask that you go there before seeking out Y'shtola? It was a place where people once gathered to worship the light. Alas, it was long since fallen into disuse. Sorry, one moment. Yet with all yet within the hall there remains a tablet whose writings I believe may prove of use to Y'shtola. At the very least, such a relic would make a suitable gift for your reunion. A most considerate proposal. Very well. Ere we depart Raktika, we shall journey on to Fort Job that we might secure this relic. Yes, definitely cookies. We do have cookies. And a Neri. Now y'all are just making promises that I have to, like, fulfill. Oh, God! Ow! There we go. My heater wasn't working, which is fine for a little bit, but then it gets very cold down here. You okay, Elio? Yep, I'm good. Just dropped the heater, just dropped. Okay, Milkshake, let's do this. milkshake, can you talk? Maybe one day. If Alpha can do it, and Seto can do it, maybe you two can. We may not all have that, but we do have a video on the discussion of interspecies romance, so I guess that works. Is he a banana milkshake because he's yellow? Well, I was always meaning to dye him white, but I never got around to like stabling him. So I haven't been able to dye him because vanilla. The joke for a long time was Syrian used to buy me vanilla milkshakes because I love vanilla milkshakes. Yeah. Here amidst these ruins will we find the Church of the First Light, and within that hollowed hall the tablet we seek. Time is of the essence, my friend. Let us be quick. At the height of Lakeland's prosperity, there sits. These sites served as not a man's final bastion, but as testament to his ingenuity and architectural prowess. The Church of the First Light was responsible for many such marvels, building majestic chapels in every corner of the realm. Alas, the flood with its inexorable tides would drown nigh everyone, and did all but put an end to the religion as a whole. The creatures which then did rise from the fulgent deluge were seen as agents of divine punishment, sent to devour sin and sinner both. Whence came the name Sinner? People were lost, seemingly forsaken by their god. Yet where there is light, there hath ever been shade, and 'twas in the dark that they sought solace. The most devout of these worshippers of shadow did then migrate to Ratika Greatwood, but that is a tale for another time. For now, let us find what remaineth of the chapel here. Lordy, I turned it off for 1 second. Got super hot. Oh, Sarah shared something in screenshots. I do have to appreciate how much they let the PR team and people on their team know the memes. Like, you have to remember they're players too. Which, speaking of, I will explain a certain meme as we get into Raktika. Got uppies in the Discord. I wonder if we'll get more about Church of the First Light in E3. Aye, this is indeed... Oh. This is indeed the church we seek. It's surprisingly intact. What little is left of the churches I've seen until now has always borne the scars of decades of disuse. Its subterranean construction hath done much to protect the hull from the ravages of time, yet the reason for its remarkable preservation may be deduced from its decoration. As faith in the light did wane, so rose reverence for the dark, and its followers did want for place of worship. To be plain, the standards which do adorn these walls belong not to those who built them, but to the worshippers of the dark, the knights blessed. Who subsequently migrated to Raktika, yes? Indeed, 'twas beneath the shaded boughs of the Raktika Greatwood that they finally found sanctuary. Oft and many times did Yulmor make spurious overtures of friendship unto them, but they are no fools. The Exarch knoweth full well that Y'shtola, in her seclusion, doth labor to learn all she may of the blessed and their past. 'Tis why he sent us here, I now see. The tablet of which he spoke no doubt provide a glimpse into the history that she so yearneth to be comprehended. Well then, we better hurry up and find it. Uppies where? Y'all and your uppies. Is it that beautiful song Elio spoke and Soken delivered a brilliant performance? Yeah, we'll get there. Were the tablet fragment of holy scripture, 'twould most assuredly rest here on this altar. Yet this would, I presume, also have been where the blessed placed the font of seeing, used in the practice of their faith. whither then would they have set the tablet? Can anyone tell me what the infernal tablet even looks like? I can barely see my hand in front of my face. If only that torch were a little closer. Is the shoe bill in this shot? Not that I know of. I bet, yeah. You've located the Time Worn Tablet. Yeah, guys! I'm better at finding shit than you! Within the altar thou sayest. Escape thine eye to see. Is indeed the tablet you seek. Curious, these engravings predate the Knights Blessed. If I'm not mistaken, they are written in the script of an ancient empire, Vorrcer, whose capital once stood in the midst of what is now Raktika. It will be no small matter to decipher them. A fine gift for our seeker of truth. 'Tis plain the Exarch understandeth the Y'shtola only too well. But come, let us quit this place and make ready for our journey into the wood. Ere we depart, there is a custom of the Knights Bless, which I feel compelled to elucidate. As one might expect, they deem light to be abhorrent, and everything it touches befouled. Thus do they take the utmost pains to protect all they can from its taint, including their very names. To speak plain, it is the belief of the Blessed that one's own name must never be uttered in the light of everlasting day, yet this commandment precludeth not the use of another's. Thus do parents protect their children, and in rare cases, masters their disciples. So it is that Y'shtola has taken the name Master Matoya. Thus we offer them, offend them. I bid you speak not in true name in the Blessed's presence. With that in mind, let us speak with the guard who keepeth vigil at the great wood's border. Man, I bet so many people were so confused when in the trailers, like, when he refers to Y'shtola as Master Matoya, and everyone was like, what the fuck? Unless people didn't know her last name, in which case they were like, oh yeah, I bet her name's just Y'shtola Matoya. Or something stupid. Oh, Wind Advisory? Sorry, Raven. And yeah, Daniel, yeah. Keep safe, guys. Yeah, I don't know, that sounds kind of fun. Hopefully I don't have to go outside. I'm so small I might get blown into the sky like a raven kite. I just noticed I got a Canadian quarter from the laundromat. That happens a lot. I mean, like, I've lived in a lot of northern states, so I'm effectively southern Canada anyway, so it's not entirely surprising, but... The lead or the flying... I definitely think the flying in the sky like a kite bit. So just watch your explanation video for the answers now I found for flow. If you'll excuse me, I'll go cry myself to sleep. Well, on the one hand, thank you for watching. On the other hand, I'm glad they made you emotional. And on the other hand of that other hand, I'm sorry I made you cry. But on the bright side, I cried while editing them multiple times. So, not so much feel my pain, but I relate. Butterfly in the sky, raven flies twice as high. Just take a look, it's in the book. It's Gray Moon Rainbow. Matoya did adopt E-Machine, good to glad to have you. Did adopt her, but she always says her surname is Rule. Yeah, I'm aware, E-Machine. I'm more just like poking fun at if people weren't aware. I mean, like, look, a lot of times you can be like, well, everyone knows that Thancred's name is Thancred Waters or whatever, but it's like a bunch of people don't know that. A bunch of people don't know lore bits, or like the amount of people who don't know you stole Rule or like why Rule is her last name is, you know, quite a few people. Didn't the first teaser trailer for Shadowbringers have Eorzean say yes? That's what I was just referencing. Master Matoya, and people were like, the fuck? And then the next teaser trailer just showed it was Y'shtola. So no, it's if you look at it, it's, well, he might do it in the gameplay, but the cinematic trailer, he goes, you know, something Master Matoya. We can We can accept our fate or reject. We can reject or accept our fate, but we cannot deny it. Something like that. And she says, "Deny. I'm not one-to-one from my troubles." So that's the part. What sayest thou, Master Matoya? Thank you, E-Machine. We can accept our fate or defy it, but we cannot deny it. That's, I think, the line. Deny. I'm not one to run from my troubles. Thank you for adding me to that lovely song of me flying into the sky. No worries, Raven. Well met, traveler. What business brings you here? Yes, of course, right this way. But I mean, like, there's multiple lines in the Shadowbringers trailers that are just supposed to make you so confused. Like, because think about it. Like, Thancred has the line talking about, this town sure has changed, not at all for the better. And it's, like, clearly supposed to, like, is this supposed to be Limsa? What's going on? It's supposed to be very confusing. Ah! It's here!
No matter how far he goes, man cannot resist looking back on the path he has walked. The untold stories and secrets of the past can be more alluring than the promise of tomorrow.
I want your lahis. I will not be satisfied with
So
mere
he
few
braves the
lahis.
forests of Raktika in search of mystery and wonder.
Praise Soken.
Of Ronka, to which all seekers of hidden truths are inevitably drawn.
Praise the Soken!
We have arrived. Vast though these woods may be, they are, by and large, uninhabitable. Not so the swamps of Cydia, however, whose sparse foliage permitted man a foothold.
Yo, good to see, glad to have you. Summit, good to see, glad to have you. Des, good to see, glad to have you. I think that's everyone. Thank you guys for humoring me with your humoring me?
No lands must remain beyond our grasp. Go forth, conquer, rule. Forgive me. A sudden pang of nostalgia for those halcyon days.
He loves that term.
Exploring virgin territories, subjugating primitive peoples, all for the glory of Garlemald.
And Alag.
If you've brought your ivory standard, I'll be happy to tell you where to stick it.
Thancred's got moments in this expansion.
Can we not simply take a moment to enjoy the view together? Or would you rather I spied on you from the shadows? Much more of this, and I may very well begin to regret my show of good faith.
If you really want to stay, then help us fight.
I wasn't thinking it was cheesy. I was thinking that was efficient, Des. Good, congratulations, by the way.
No, I think not. I am an observer, nothing more.
Bullshit. That's a lie.
Even shielded by the shadows of these boughs, I feel the light's presence most keenly. To accompany you is taxing enough. To fight is out of the question.
I will suffer your company if I must, but not your commentary.
Okay, who here, and don't explain it if you do know, who here does not understand the why exactly Lahi is a meme, other than obvious reasons like, you know, hunt trains, and also because, I mean, is there anyone who does not know what Soken did that caused it to go from major meme to god tier level meme of 14? What is it now? Do you expect me to regale you with friendly banter? No, very well. I will humor you this once. You may consider it my latest act of good faith. Come then. What do you wish to know? Why choose this form here on the first? Well, well, what a curious question. Mortal flesh is but the vessel in which we Asians pour the elixir of our souls, molding it as fits the occasion. Or not, if you so choose. But it is for the year or millennium. I prefer to retain the same form until my duty is done. So after my arrival here on the first, I fashioned some hapless body of the man you see before you. Though, as your friends over there can attest, there are those of us who forego such alterations. He was ever the rash one, jumping from vessel to vessel, never heeding the toll it took on him. This is really important information, as it's really important to understand part of why La Habrea was as weak as he was, relatively speaking. Music, stato. Do you know that? Not sure that I understand it. Okay. Well, then I have something to show you. So, important thing to understand is that every fan fest, Soken loves to do a little performance of some kind. And there's always been all sorts of fun things that they do. And also, another important thing to understand about Soken is that he and the developing team as a whole tend to have a really good sound understanding of what memes are popular at the time. So this is the fan fest as we were going into Endwalker, and at the time a lot of people were doing hunt trains for Shadowbringers, and so Lahi had become a bit of a meme. So Soken comes out on stage, right? And here, and does this. Walks out with an automaton. This is live streamed. No one knows what's going on.
Do you know Lahi?
That face!
I will play Lahi.
It's just straight up the monkey face from the meme. The like sock monkey meme.
Music, start!
It's important to remember, he does not only write and perform a lot of the music, he sings in a lot of the tracks. Soken is a very good singer, which makes this next part even more impressive. I remember watching this live. It does take skill to be this bad. What will he do next? I truly, truly wonder. They should absolutely let us play this during like the game. Like this as an orchestration role we can just turn on in the background. Did Keiko update her LinkedIn profile picture to that face for a while too? I didn't hear about that, but I believe it. I want a shirt that says Lockheed Martin. If people don't know what I'm talking about here, People don't know what I'm talking about with the monkey face. Let me... Oh, can't find it. It's not popular enough, but... Straight up. Her face has the exact same energy as this. Just her face. Exact same energy. There's Lahi, as far as I know, is not English or Japanese. It's supposed to, I think, be like Ronkin. I can double check that at some point, but I'm pretty sure. He just runs off. Yep. This is a man is a treasure and he must be protected at all costs. I may or may not have us watch his speech from the closing of FanFest after we get through 5.3, because I want you to remember he was in a hospital the entire time he wrote and made To the Edge. Yep, he did kill Hall. Like both lore and nonsense like this, do a super chat to fund further shenanigans. Thank you, Bean, for being an active promoter. Currently, I'm saving up to buy a new monitor because my current monitors are 720p. So I'm hoping to do it for better editing, for like color grading and stuff. Tis plain our Asian counterpart managed to follow wheresoever we lead. Were it otherwise, he would not suffer the overabundance of light in these woods. Verily, it pervadeth every corner, and so long as the light warden remaineth, the sin-eaters shall be free to prey upon this land without surcease. If naught is done, 'tis but a matter of time before the blessed succumb. 2 years past, a swarm of sin-eaters did lay waste unto their largest settlement, killing a great many of their priests in so doing. And that is what you see during the Shadowbringers trailer. Though some few did survive, they knew not how to go on, wayward souls in want of a guiding hand for a mercy. Y'shtola hath provided that which they sorely need. They have ever since endeavored to restore their home, and thither shall we bend our steps, to Fort Gorn. Next up, goal should be an LEO cover of Soken's Lahi. If people will pay for it, I'll do it. I know I'm just basically saying, hey, I'll whore myself out, but I gotta pay taxes. I don't know if there's a delay, so it seems like I'm super mismatched. Wait, what did I level? Oh, Discovering. I was like, did I just level from Discovering the map? Peeking mic and all. I should probably have given warning for that. Well, there you go. Raven, thank you for the $4.99. Wait for it to restart. I'll give you a little bit more. I have no idea what the lyrics are, so I'm gonna be doing my best here. Musicu, starto. Oh, that was too early. Man, that's a really long delay before it starts again. Holy moly! And 1 and 2 and 1 2 3. Actually, wait. We should look up. Civilizations is what the song is called, by the way. Oh, yeah, it definitely has 100% has lyrics. Sorry, I had no automaton. I might have an ocarina. If y'all are not loving that, blame Raven for the $4.99. Would Emma be considered a La Himbo? No, I don't think. I super don't think Emmett's a himmo. Chris, good to see you. Glad to have you. What a great moment to join. Our Assassins are actually weak to light. It makes sense from the whole evil darkness traditional sense they started as, but it feels like the lore evolved past that. It almost feels, I don't know. I think their like worship of Zodiac and stuff and their association with darkness in that respect makes them in some ways a countervailing force. But I don't know if I would necessarily say weak is an interesting question. Does the stasis itself fundamentally act as a countervailing force to their darkness? Well, we get some explicit stuff around that, both with Emet and La Habrea. It's hard to say whether or not they're weak to light or if they're just more very much darkness. So a large amount of light acts as more of a balancing to the scales in a way that nothing else would. So are they weak to it, or are they just less resistant, to everything else? Which I say, which I mean, may seem like, well, what's the difference? But you know. Hey, don't make me under the bus, Helio. Thank you for the $5, Raven. Emmett is clever, pessimistic, and live. Very not himbo. Yeah, if anything, like very opposite of himbo. Also, Umino, good to see you. Glad to have you. Booger, welcome back. I'm sorry I made you cry. I'm not gonna lie. That is a little bit, if I emotionally move people with the lyrical lores, then I have done my job, because that is what I want desperately. So, at the very least, thank you for...
Little sign of recent activity, nor hath any meaningful progress been made with the reconstruction. Mayhap Y'shtola sought shelter elsewhere. Come, let us quit this place.
Has anyone done a count of how many times they say come in the MSQ?
Now, surround them!
Astrality, no question, Ryan. Because they're attuned to darkness. Because they're tempering. Remember, tempering is not only a specific tilting towards a primal or entity, but also towards an aspect.
They're not like the others.
Or at least
There's a reason for that. Lower your weapons, please. We mean you no harm.
How is it they can speak?
It's a Sin Eater trick. They mean to kill us all.
Have you considered they're not Sin Eaters? Kupo?
That will seem a lot less amusing when we are forced to kill them.
I needed to know.
Oh, for the love of... I had hoped that by accompanying you, we might come to understand one another. But all I have come to understand is that you have a knack for inflaming the natives. You've committed the cardinal sin of boring me. And so, I retire to the shade. Good luck.
There! Did you see that one disappear?
I think I preferred La Habrea.
Enough. Runar, report.
Master Matoya! We apprehended them as you ordered, but are you certain these are Sin Eaters?
It's the best furry boyfriend.
The intense light of the ether I saw was unmistakable. If not Sin Eaters, then what?
We haven't seen Demins. I hope Demins is okay.
'Tis passing queer that Y'shtola should mistake us for the enemy, is it not?
No, it's just a furry.
Mayhap it hath been too long since last she beheld the radiance of thine ether. Master Matoya, hath time truly made strangers of us?
Nay, I recognize you, Eorzean, Thancred. And this is Minfilia of the First, of whom you spoke before.
Just so. And knowing as thou must that we come in peace, might I prevail upon thee to have thy comrades lower their arms?
She's been on the
Explain
First for
this
3
other
years.
presence in your company, the one I know not. There is but one manner of creature in this world whose ether is suffused with such an abundance of light.
This is what they call foreshadowing.
Mine apologies, Master Matoya, but thou art mistaken. Before thee standeth our dearest comrade, the truest hero among us. Though he is but recently arrived here in the First, not one but 2 Light Wardens have already perished by his most puissant hand.
It cannot be.
For enlightening. Fair point, Tim. Nice to see you too, Master Matoya.
Master Matoya?
Lower your weapons. Forgive us this hostile welcome. Come. I would give you a proper introduction to Raktika and its people.
Dude, to try and match lip flaps is, like, think about it. You have to not only take the Japanese line and localize it, but you also have to localize it into, like, the way the character speaks and have it make sense and not be too far different. What a challenge. There was a streamer I was watching the VODs who gave Runar and Ubu Catboy voice and seriously regretted it later. Oh. Tired of only asking for company? We have a TFC on Crystal Curl, Euro TFC on Chaos Phantom, and a Dynamis Sarah. DM a mod in Discord for details and invites. Thank you, Bean. Yes, you can always DM the Bean, or the Ray Ray. It makes sense that if Assassins are more tuned to astrality, then Umbrality of Light would weaken them, if only slightly. Well, it depends on what you mean by weaken, right? Or just a balance. So, like, we know for sure that the light can act as a countervailing force for them for balance, but as to whether or not it inherently weakens them is... It can be preventive. I mean, I don't think you're probably wrong to say it does, but it gets a little complicated. I mean, you can look at Laha Bray, you can look at the Blessing of Light adding protection to locales like the Rising Stones, you know. Yeah, exactly, Emmett polariting away. Passing queer, look, don't call us out like that, Eorzean. Yeah, 3 years, yeah. We know it's been 3 years. Okay, Dez, have a good one. Enjoy your work shift. We know that it's been 3 years for her, 3 years for Eorzean, 1 year for the twins, and 5 years for Thancred. You've been so busy, sir, since arriving in the First, I gather. But I would hear the tale of your travails in more suitable surroundings. With Fort gone, yet to be rebuilt, the Knights Blessed have made their home in the settlements to the northeast. I will await you at its entrance. Follow the path through yonder gate, and you will find me soon enough. First, I saved the plans of mine that I thought died. Woo! Good job, Raven. Pizzaco plant. Oh, also, Keel, your point on Dusk Whites. Well, I mean, think about it, though, because, like, Dusk Whites come from Gelmora, more so, byproduct of Gelmora. So, if anything, I guess it makes sense for Ronka, but saying that they only come from here, I mean, until we get E3, we don't know if as a clan, they exist because of Ronka, which would make the most sense with how, like, Ronkan institutions exist underground. But their existence, well, I guess Gelmora is only a couple hundred years separated, so in fact it could just be a byproduct of the Knights Blessed existing underground. There may be also text in the game that already specifies it that I'm just not thinking You think about what how the Knights Blessed live, it would also make sense for the elves to go that way as well. And you'd think with Vorrcer and the other elven groups, with Ronka existing as far back as it did, you probably would have other examples of the effectively Duskwhite elves existing elsewhere other than here if it was a Ronkan thing. So maybe it is just a byproduct of those who believe in those of the Knights Blessed. There you are. I was beginning to worry. Much like the Twelves would, this forest has a way of dealing with those who stray too far from the beaten path. But I digress. Let me show you the home of the Knights Blessed. Yep, pausing for a second. So, my internet says it's good. Working on figuring out what's up, and maybe YouTube. And I'm back. Okay, we should be good now. I don't know what that was, but I do, to make up for it, have a good boy. So yeah, so Kill All, I was trying to answer your thing on Duskwights. It's probably to do with the Knights Blessed, as if it was Ronkin, you would probably think that you would see those Duskwights elsewhere, right? You would think that that spread would have happened long, long ago. The way the lore story handles Duskwight is just frustrating in general. It's bad enough to lack lore, but make almost every Duskwight a villain. That's just patently false. Every Duskwight isn't a villain. There's plenty of Duskwights that are not villains and built up. And also, the Duskwights have just as much lore. In fact, they have more lore than many of the other clans. So, like, you can say that, but it's just not true. Like, the way that they're developed through Gelmora and other information that's given to you both in-game and out-of-game, it's more than, for instance, that we get than... I mean, frankly, in some ways, the Hellsguard, it's true of more than, like, Othardi and Rogadin. It's true in comparison to... Frankly, we get more about Duskwights than we get Keeper of the Moon. And you could also you could argue that Keeper of the Moon, a lot of them are all villains, but even that would be a generalization that I don't think is fair or true. In fact, I think the game, like, also, the game, when it does has them as villains, like, specifically with... the Lancer quest, it also paints them as more victims than and as more indicting of the civilization as a whole rather than just the individual. So I like, there is a lot of information on the clans that exist in game. I can just tell you firsthand. And on top of that, the fact that there's not enough is, I don't think is like, I mean, just literally the amount of time and effort put into it by Koji alone is more than a lot of other games have. Okay, but you're just wrong, Keelhaul. Like, it's demonstrably the case. Like, you want to say that you want more, that's fine, but you're saying that it's, like, bad enough to lack lore, but it almost makes every Duskwite a villain. That's just... You're kind of criticizing the game for something that I just don't think is fair. Because it's just not the case.
Slitherbow is the largest of the blessed settlements.
And I've had to have that conversation about Duskwites a lot, and I'm not sure why it keeps happening, but, like, it's just not.
They worship no gods, instead revering darkness itself. It is a curious kind of faith, but one which has granted them the strength to persevere in the wake of the flood. I hope you weren't expecting a grand feast by way of welcome. They are a simple people. Now, I would hear of your travels away from prying ears. Come.
But then you could literally say the same thing about multiple other clans, and it's not because there's an inefficiency. Wanting more is fine. Saying that they didn't do due diligence or didn't create a lot is not, because they did a lot, and a lot more than a lot of others games do.
I see. And now you seek the Light Warden of Raktika.
Also, you're talking about our peers. Yes, a specific subset of group that, like, self-select for wanting a lot of information about groups are saying they want more. Like, that's not the vast majority of people. The vast majority of people don't even know most of Duskwite lore as is. And you can say the same thing about anything. You can find a group of people who are unhappy just about anything with anything. It's not like, I don't know, like talking about, glam plates where it affects, many people across different disciplines within the game. Or things like that. Just because you're saying you can find people who also agree with your umbrage on something doesn't mean that it's necessarily warranted.
In the days after I arrived in the First, I too relied upon the Crystal Exarch for guidance. But his penchant for secrecy and the telling of half-truths soon lost him my trust. And thus did I strike out on my own. My work eventually led me here to the forest, which I have come to know like the back of my hand. I cannot say with certainty where your quarry is hiding, but I am confident I can narrow the search.
Well, go on then.
Some few thousand years ago, this forest stood at the heart of the Empire of Ronka. A great many relics of that civilization can still be found to the east in Ixmaya. Or rather, could be found, were the area not fiercely guarded. Ixmaya, you see, is home to a tribe of warriors whose lineage is said to date back to the time of the Empire. Any attempt to enter their territory is met with lethal force. They offer no warnings, and suffer no trespasser to escape. Needless to say, my every attempt to survey the area has been thwarted.
Mayhap the Warden hideth there, full knowing none may approach it for fear of these protectors.
As for the tablet, I find the timing of its discovery suspiciously convenient. If I did not know better, I would think someone was trying to curry favor with me. Regardless, it will take time to decipher these writings. Yet I would not be at all surprised if they somehow held the key to entering Ixmaya unmolested. The Exarch has a nose for serendipity.
Throwing
If
shade.
there is aught I can do to assist thee in unraveling their secrets, thou needst only ask.
Thank you, Eorzean. I may well take you up on that offer.
Does Eorzean's gorget exist as a necklace?
While we set to work, might I suggest you
get?
take a tour of the city? Should you be in any doubt as to the importance of your role as the Warrior of Darkness, the people here will surely cure you of it.
I must say, Stola, while most of us have struggled to come to terms with our altered circumstances, you seem to have adapted rather well.
Lest you forget, Master Matoya and I dedicated our lives to uncovering the truth which hides at the heart of our world. Though separate, the fate of this reflection is nevertheless bound to that of our home. That I would be daunted by such an invaluable opportunity is absurd. But what of you, Thancred? Could it be that you are still struggling to come to terms with the nature of your young companion?
That was unnecessarily.
My struggles are none of your concern. Quite why you would speak thus and in this company, I do not know. Perhaps you left more of yourself back in the source than I assumed.
Shola's just being a straight dick. That wasn't sass. That's just being an asshole. Death Slytherin.
He understands that I'm not the same. That I'm not her.
Understands, perhaps, but does not accept. The question being whether he ever will.
Yeah,
And
but
whether
that's not
you
useful in
will,
order to help him.
importantly. As difficult as your circumstances may be, they are yours, not his. 'Tis you and you alone who bears ultimate responsibility for your life.
Yeah, but you can communicate that without being an asshole.
But you need not make any hard choices now. Why not go and get some fresh air, clear your head?
This is like a good example of like why I've a lot of times had a harder time feeling affiliated with Michelle as a character, is just because like she can communicate that point without being cruel. And also, like, I don't know if it was just the line read, or the facial animation, but she did that with Thancred, like, almost gleefully, which was weird. I do get where she's coming from, but she's so harsh. No, it's not that she doesn't have a point. It's not that she doesn't have a fair point about, like, not only is it important that he does learn to accept it, or that Minfilia is made sure that Minfilia understands that she has full responsibility and autonomy for her own life, but still. Kind of reminds me of early ARR Stola, but that was deliberate character arc away from being the way. I wonder why they had her act this way. It had to be deliberate, right? Yeah, I think it's definitely deliberate. I think it's also because, I mean, one, with her being removed from everyone else, I think that might be part of it. I also think that, like, honestly, it's just like taking her characterization and like being, because I don't know that it is that different. I mean, think of even like what she does in 4.x, right? I feel like they didn't, I do agree with you, Kill, they kind of arc away from it a little bit, but I don't think they've ever full arc away from it. Like, she doesn't really have an arc about learning to be kinder or anything. So like, I think it may just be a strong characterization choice and also about what's happened. But what's happened in the intervening 3 years, you know? Oh gods, I'm becoming her. Yeah, Tim. I love the Matoya Stola pipeline. Yeah. And look, I can understand that there's some people out there like, no, you just be, you know, she's you know, saying it as she sees it, she's saying it right, and like, that's fine, but especially almost gleefully saying it seems odd. I'm not indifferent to Thancred's troubles. Nevertheless, I will not apologize for holding him to higher standard after all these years. He has ever been a man of considerable resolve, and that is what I will continue to expect. Though it heartened me to know that some of us remain ourselves in spite of our present circumstances. I can but imagine how Alice and Alfino have changed since arriving here in the first. Perhaps you should be concerned with how you've changed. I realize I'm not as I was on the source, but I cannot say I regret the decisions that allowed me to come this far. Returning to the matter at hand, I really must begin work on deciphering this tablet. In the meantime, perhaps you should take a look about Slitherburrow. Is there anything you need? Pray or speak with Runar at the plaza. I thought she did AR. She just seemed really mean early on, and then showed occasional kindness as AR went on. Really? I'm thinking about like starting in Limsa because we started in Limsa as Elio and stuff. I don't remember being particularly mean or particularly any meaner than she was pretty much throughout Heavensward and Stormblood as well. So I interpreted that as character arc, though AR was a bit chaotic in general. Yeah, I'm not sure. There might be specific things you can point to, but other than that, I can't say I remember the same feeling. She also learned how to be empathetic from Todia, yeah. Well, welcome, friend. Wait, Soviet Russia. Welcome, friend. My apologies for our less than hospitable greeting earlier. Tell me, what is your name? From where do you hail? Astriel, good to see you, glad to have you, being a gift to the furry community. From the Crystarium, I see, and this tablet you brought us may help us find the Light Warden here in Raktika. Well, you are welcome to stay for as long as you need. Come, let me show you around. Huh, I also didn't see the line reads as particularly asshole-ish. Would it be alright if I joined you? Again, there may be just something I'm forgetting. Of course. Anything for the guest of our dearest Master Matoya. Thank you. She means a great deal to the Knights Blessed, doesn't she? If not for her, we may have all perished in great fire. With our priests slain and our homes in ruins, we were at the mercy of the Sin Eaters. It was she who drove them back, and with our sage guidance we were able to rebuild. Before long she became a central figure in our community, a great oak within whose shadow many have come to find solace. There is not to say that there will be not those who hesitant to grant an outsider such authority, myself included. Perhaps it is with a smile in her eye when she speaks of the sunless sea. I feel whole again. Now that she is with us, and I have no doubt the others feel the same. She is as much part of the Knights Blessed as any of us, and we are grateful for all that she does in service to the Dark. But you did not hear this from me, yes? Now, you should know that there are certain customs we ask guests to adhere to, so as long as they reside within Slitherburrow. To show reverence to the Dark? In a word, yes, but I fear not. It is not too important. Let us begin with something simple. Follow me. Hated early Thancred? I mean, it's not that I love him, but like I'm not like. It's more that I'd be confused playing through ARR and having a super strong feeling about, like, I mean, honestly, Y'shtola, Thancred, Urianger. Like, Urianger, I could imagine being annoyed because of, like, his speaking patterns, but, like, with Y'shtola and, like, Thancred, like, they have some characterization, but they don't have a ton. And, like, what they do, it's like, I can imagine it not doing much for you, but it's hard to imagine hating it. Subjectivity, sorry. No, you're good. Sorry. Keelhaul, to explain specifically why I came down so hard on the Duskwhite thing is I've had that conversation a lot of times, and the amount of times I've talked with our peers who just, like, immediately start from a place of, like, Square Enix is fucking up, they are treating all Duskwhites as villains, and also there's just no lore about them, and just, like, literally within EE1 alone, there's a lot, has got me to the point where I get annoyed quickly about that, so just don't mind me on that. But it is a subject which, for some reason within the RP community, comes up a ton. And it's just interesting to me because, like, the same conversation doesn't happen with Keeper of the Moons, even though within the story, like, half of all the Keeper of the Moons are morally questionable, at best. If, like, you're talking about just stories and not, like, NPC dialogue or, like, quest chains that don't have narratives. Like, for instance, the Archer quest line, or, you know, the, what's his face with the tribal groups. Should you see any of our people come to this chamber, they have likely returned from the journey beyond the borders of Raktika. I'd also like to point out, I don't think that the Keepers of the Moon should be caveated as like, oh, all the Keepers of the Moons are villains. My point is just, to me, it's relatively comparable, and yet there's only so much umbrage for one of the groups. Should you see any of our people come to this chamber, they have likely returned from the journey beyond the borders of Raktika. We've used the water stored here to cleanse ourselves of the light of impurity. A symbol, perhaps peculiar custom, but it is one of our most important. Would you two kneel for just a moment, that I might rid you of light's impurity? Oh, I gotta kneel. Like, the Mutui stuff, all the stuff around Gelmora, the stuff about, like, their housing where they stay, the things that they eat, the culturals around Pomander and the Palace of the Dead, both as, like, Gelmoran specifically, but as well as is attributed specifically to the Duskwights. You know, like, there's a bunch of little bits and bobs. Like, hell, the most we get for Hellsguard is mostly from things like Warrior, and really that's about it. I mean, you get bits and bobs elsewhere. You have naming conventions, but we have naming conventions across the board, especially with the stuff that you get from Koji, the notes from Koji on the forum. As Runar lightly sprays you with water, your skin begins to tingle. RP, it depends what you're into. For instance, I'm super into lore and information, and I love writing characters and stories, but I'm not usually super into RP. I also love acting on the stage, but I don't enjoy RP that much. But I have a lot of friends who really love RP Raven, so it just depends on what you like. And with that, you have been cleansed of the light's blighted touch. How do you feel? And 14's got a lot of wonderful tools for RPing. I'm not sure, to be honest. Not refreshed exactly, but I do feel different. Has the water been treated in some way? Only blessed by our priests. They are practiced in the arcane arts. As such, it is said that their prayers imbue the water with a faint, dark energy. A prickling sensation. No one has ever spoken of such a reaction before. I wouldn't say it was an unpleasant sensation, but I too felt something strange. The dark aspects of this water should have no discernible effect, unless... Oh, this actually would support whoever was asking about Assassins and light and dark. By the gods, Master Matoya was right. You are Sin Eaters! I jest. What you felt was likely no more than the chill of the water. You think about how both Minfilia and us are attuned towards umbrality to an extreme, right? So if the water is a little bit astral and a little bit, dark, it makes sense that we might be more sensitive to it, which, would go along with the earlier question and point people had. Perhaps now would be a good time for you to acquaint yourselves with the people of Slitherbow. For that I must teach you a customary greeting. Alin Tuta. In the language of Ranka, it is one of the several ways one might say, good evening. The word is safe, not as safe as it once was, and this greeting lets us quickly discern friend from foe. Is there a handshake or gesture we should know too? Would hate to offend anyone. Oh, you need not worry. Merely speak the words Alin Tuta, and they will know you as friend of the blessed. I will await your return here. Now go. They are likely to be hardened by your knowledge of our ways. Thancred is a bad dad to Minfilia. I don't think he's bad. I think he has a complicated relationship as both mentor and paternal figure. And I think he struggles with that relationship. And I think he's imperfect, but I don't know that I'd call him bad. Because, think about it. Think about the way that Minfilia not only cares for him, but, the way in which Minfilia has grown or able to survive, and, also sees wonder and doesn't feel like he's belittled her in those traits. I do think he's fostered her not only safety, but her growth as a whole, and tried to protect her the best he could. I think he's not always able to open up to her the best he can because of the complications. But I don't know. You want to say he's not a good dad? Maybe that's fair. But I don't know that I can say he's a bad dad. Runar's best boy. Yeah, can be. For me, one of the breaking points was certain job quest line. They introduced us. White Care said, "Oh, I bet he's a twist villain," and he was. For job quest line. Not Red Mage, not Scholar, not Black Mage. Summoner. No, it's not Summoner. Machinist? No. Dancer? No. Reaper? No. Bard? I'm trying to remember. I'm not even trying to remember even which. I'm assuming Bard is what you're referring to. Lancer? Sage? Wait, but isn't he Charlotte? Here, I know who you're talking. Now I remember who you're talking about. I didn't even remember him as a Duskwite, but yeah, here. Sage quest. I know who you're talking about now. So it's a fair point. I'm trying to remember his name, and I want to remember it for the future. Gildevane. That's interesting. He has a name that's Ishgardian. Here, let me continue on in the meantime while my computer loads. Alan Tuta. Thank you for providing a specific example, though, Kill All. Alan Tuta. The elderly woman smiles warmly. Oh, Gamerscape, why do you always load so slow? Notes. Yeah, Duskwite, male. It's funny, he was so relatively light-skinned, I didn't even realize he was a Duskwite. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. He doesn't, like, there's a lot of other here. Let's actually, I feel like let's be more specific, right? Duskwite, list. Let's look up a list of them, just like, so we can, like, pound for pound it. Because I've done this before, but it was before Endwalker, so let's see, relatively speaking. So there's about 83, most of them with quests. You've got Gildevane, you've got what's his name? I'm forgetting. I'll know his name when I see it. I always forget his name. The Lancer quest. Lancer quest. Fulquist, yeah. So you got Fulquist. But I mean, you've got a bunch of other ones from Darcel, you have Clementine, you have Elisate, Fabrel, Feldeg, Fulquist. Yeah, Fulquist is again. But yeah. I guess like I get that there's like major examples of them, but there are most of them, most races. Lancer's Fulquist, yeah, like I mean, you have a ton of evil here, which I get, like, you could be like, oh, well, here, there's tons of here already, but it's like, we don't get a lot about Hurian culture, other than if you, like, say, like, oh, Alamegan culture is Highlander culture, but it's not. Like, the worship of Ralgar and Highlander, and, like, Alamigo has always been multinational, both with Hellsguard, some Dunes folk, but not really a lot of Dunes folk, but the other groups as well. Away with you. Aline Cheese, welcome, friend. I take it you will remain in these woods for some time, yes? Beware of these woods. You will find poisons in near everything you see. But fear not. Our medicinal tea will keep you healthy. Ask it, and it is yours. Better than bleach. Yeah, There's tons of different types of RP, so you're like, yeah. I love RP mainly because I love writing and making fun characters, especially if villains just been too shy to do RP. I mean, here's the thing. There's no wrong way to do RP. It's just like, role-playing is just like what you make it. Some people, it's more, literary, for lack of a better word. For other people, it's more play acting, Here, humans, whatever, are generally cultural light in most game. I think that's sort of something RPers accept, since they most often generic race you impress on your own ideas on. But the game does have culture for them. My point isn't that heroes don't have culture. Like, again, literally, just in EE1. Like, just in EE1, we get an entire section on both the races, but it's not even just like, they don't just talk about Eorzean, right? They also talk about each of the clans. The game as a whole has bothered to distinguish, for instance, we're gonna get more on the difference between elves and Mistel and Galgent and like their source counterparts. Like, the game goes to great lengths to give us lore about these groups. Like, again, trust me, more than anyone, I want more. I absolutely want more answers, more information, more stuff, but like, there is stuff that's there. That's what I just can't just let lying down, to say that there's not information at all. or that it's incredibly light. It's like, there's bunches of quests in the Shroud. There's, you know, we get bunches of stuff about not only the cultures that these groups belong to, but the multiple cultures that they have been through. You know, we get... There's quests on the complicated relations not only between Hyur and Duskwhite, but Duskwhite and, you know, Wildwood, and also, like, the Ishgardian kind. Like, I have no business with strangers. Ah, newly come traveler, Alin Chis, and welcome to Slitherpower. You must forgive us if we seem strangely observed. We are quiet and taciturn people, silent and serene as the sunless sea. The quiet makes it easy to discern the presence of eaters and other dangers here in the wood. I would love to get hints in some locations of what other shards are kind of like. Yeah. I mean, I guess the other thing is I just think that saying that a game gives you a lot of baseline information, but then chooses to be more evocative and more like grant you pieces of information that you have to more tie together or try to discern is way more interesting than just someone who wrote like a 50,000 word document that just says explicitly, and the favorite food of all of Duskwights is this, and like just being very prescriptive about every piece of possible minutia. You know, like I want some answers, I want some baseline text, but then I want the room to be able to develop a character that's zesty and interesting rather than only existing within a very specific, very limited possibility of outcomes. Because the game does a lot to give you a scaffolding from which you can develop or create characters or narratives. Everyone was so kind and gracious. I was nervous at first, but already I'm starting to feel at home. There's still much I have to learn about the Knights Blessed, but their faith and strength of will is nothing short of inspiring. I can see now how they've built such a thriving community. Yeah. CCL, Folkos. True, yeah, I always felt that after Bungie 343 tried to characterize the alien race and just ended up generalizing them too a bit. Yeah. Characters to cling to and stuff. Okay, but I guess that to me, that's not RP. I mean, I don't get to define what RP is, right? But what you're saying is you want more heroic characters that are Duskwhite and actively heroic within the narrative. Yeah, I can get behind that. I get wanting that, but I just think like saying like, and being like, for instance, I'm sad that rogue representation is not great in this game, right? Like for the most part, if it's not like Moonbreeda, you can talk about male rogue representation in terms of like, oh, there's Hori, there's like a lot of background characters, or you've got like male rogue representation is, there are characters that exist, but there are not a lot of them that are super interesting for the most part, other than like Gosetsu, but Gosetsu's a weird case because he's an Othardian Roganin. So I think that's one place where you could argue that. But I wish there was more. I wish there was, outside of Ishgard, you know, more male Elezen representation sometimes. Or hell, you know, like more Lalafell, male Lalafell representation in the Scions or something. Like, I get wanting more. My point is not against that. I just think there's a big difference between being like, they don't care and they're being lazy and not giving, and not putting Duskwhite in, is a very different sentiment to, I really wish that we would get more characterization of these characters and had more of a character to cling to. But also by the same token, I guess I'm just confused why a male, like, for me, that's because I like characters, but that, like, RP, like, wouldn't you want to make your own male representation, or, like, a Duskwhite representation that defies that? Like, there's also historical characters, Duskwhite, that are really fascinating, like, in the Gelmoran texts as well, like, Galvanth and stuff, you know? Yeah, but at least many of them are decent. It could be better, but that's not super terrible. They gave us female row main character for a bit. Yeah, alien in general. Like the Sangili, for instance, the elites are interesting. Yeah, talking about Halo. RP is far more inspired than you might think. RPers can be copycats. Yeah, no, okay, let me rephrase that then. Because I actually think, okay, I'm sorry for anyone who's just for MSQ, but I think this is actually a really just interesting conversation, just real quick. People copycatting is not even necessarily, it's not necessarily bad, right? And I'm not surprised people are inspired either. But again, I think there's not enough cat girls. Ray. Oh yes, definitely not enough cat girls. Yeah, absolutely, Ray. Never enough female Makote. But like, I think there's a very big difference between I want something versus a company's actively failed to do their due diligence or has promised us something and not granted it. That's like a very important distinction. On the top of that, also, if your point is, I want more characters I can identify with so that I can make my own character, I'm gonna have a hard time, like, being on your side because it's like, okay, but you... Like, kind of just go make your own? Or let the story unfold and let them come to a point where they, like, create those characters because it makes sense for them. Like, where, Colton A is a Wildwood, right? But, like, I mean, the thing is that if Gelmora had been Wildwood and Ishgard had been Duskwhite, we would have kind of the inverse thing going on. But, like, again, it's still, there still could be, you know, future characters that do that. You know, there's always, like, more characters coming out, more, you know, we may get a new scion, like, if Urianger gets Fade Out, for instance, there may be a new scion that's a Duskwhite, or there may be a new, and, like, again, I also get, like, saying, like, hey, like, going on the forums and be like, hey, we'd love to have, like, more characters with this representation. But I can't in good conscience say that, you know, it's like going on the forums and saying, like, what the fuck, Square Enix? Where the fuck are our glam plates? Why is it only 20? Like, you're just fucking lazy. You're not doing your job, right? And I'm not saying that this just has a extreme polar opposites, right? It's very different than, hey, you know, I get that there are complications, but, like, we could really use, like, 20 more glamour plates because, like, you can't even glam all of the combat jobs and the crafter gatherers, you know? No such thing as non-evil Lalafell? Tataru? Kryl? I, for one, wanted to explore the mammoths and how they function and created Archer as an elegant version brought into current era. Yeah. Well, okay, Bean's evil Lalafell, so maybe you're proving the point there, Adam. Dude, there's so much more information I want in this game in terms of, like, lore on multiple places, but sometimes some of it's allowing their room to be also, like, future writers to come up with stuff. Like, for instance, the level to which Dynamis is not fully and completely articulated in its totality. Or, for instance, aspects of aetherology that are left oblique so that things like Shadowbringers could be made at all. Because if they had defined with more rigidity the nature of certain aspects of aetherology, literally you couldn't have had Shadowbringers, you know? And so by that same token, I mean, again, that's different than wanting more characters, and I get that. I want more Elezen. Elio, right? Elio came about partially because I wanted more representation of Elezen, and I get that he's Wildwood and not Duskwhite, but, like, yeah. Even lore knowledge, our peers tend to look to the game characters for starting inspiration more than digging through the books, which is something Duskwhite generally like. Okay, I follow you on that, but if the game provides you both in text and in books, like not just in the books, because most of what's in the books also comes from in the game, like direct information, but you're only willing to look at characters as reference points, I'm sorry, but to me that is a choice for willful ignorance because you only want to engage with possible information one way, right? Like if I as a lore creator only was willing to learn about lore for the game through MSQ and unwilling to play any side quest, I'm choosing to be willfully ignorant. And it's not the game's fault. That's my fault. Right? Because I'm choosing to... The information exists, but I'm willfully choosing to ignore it just because I don't want to engage with it that way. Which you have the right to do, but then you can't say that the game doesn't have it. Because the game has it. You know?
Ah, you returned. Good. No doubt they were glad under your company. It has been too long since we've had visitors. Remember, if you have any questions, or there is anything you need, do not hesitate to ask. Speaking of which, we must arrange food and lodgings for your stay. As friends of Master Matoya, we cannot ask for your payment, but if you would be willing to lend a hand... Could I just pay Gil? It would be my pleasure, though I would rather not. We are fortunate indeed to play host to such a generous soul. The task I have in mind is simple enough. All I ask is that you take a jug and water the crops in the square. May I help too? Of course. One you can do the filling and the other the watering. Speak with Ezrabel when you have finished. She will be relieved to hear the crops have been tended to. While you take care of that, I will see to your room and warm a meal.
For those of you who played Shadowbringers and like maybe were annoyed by the like pacing of like Stormblood, Heavensward, and ARR, when you got to do, when you have to do quests like this, do you feel like, oh god, we're going back to the, or are you like so bought into Shadowbringers at this point that you're enjoying the ride of like learning more about what like the culture? Right then, I'll fill your water. This was the only jug I could find, which was small enough to lift, but I'm afraid there's a crack in the bottom. You'll need to hurry to the garden before all the water leaks out. Dude, I'm the Warrior of Light. Why not just let me lift one of these jugs? I bet I could do it. Oh, I was hardcore on this Stormblood train. What do you mean, Ari, exactly? Do you mean like you were at that point you were already playing the Stormblood hardcore, or like you were into it, or? I usually enjoy learning about cultures unless I feel disconnected from the place. It varies from case to case. Yeah, Keel Hall, I feel that too. That's pretty much how I am. But my question is more to do with like, I think part of that happens sometimes for people is the narrative is going too slow. Like a lot of people, you know, get kind of like, okay, can we move things along when in Girabania at the beginning of Stormblood? At least I hear that a lot from people. And yet, this is very much in a similar vein to that. So is you know, my question is if this works for you, but that didn't, is it just about information, or is it also because the story pacing up to that point? I don't mind them at all. I had to cook food without burning myself for once. Good job, Raven. Oh, so do we know what location was shown in the AR trailer? The location I'm curious about is the place with the large waterfalls that the Warrior of Light trailer steps out to. With the large waterfalls that the Warrior of Light in the trailer steps out to. In ARR or the 1.0 trailer, Astriel? Are you talking about, let's pull this up, because if you're talking about the 1.0 trailer, if you're talking about this shot, this is Ogomoro. This is the northern half of Vilbrand, if that's what you mean. That is, if I look at, I can pull up my map. If I pull up my map, and I go to Eorzean, that would be here, on the northern half of Vilbrand, north of the volcano. Yeah, not the Mulborough fight. Yeah, I was really curious about that, actually. Okay, cool. Can we go there? Not currently. Though it could be, I wouldn't be surprised if we got it as something like a variant dungeon. Eventually. Oh, the Chocobo is not the Mulborough fight. Okay, then here, the ARR. Well, if I'm not mistaken, that should be probably... okay, we don't know for sure, but my guess would be, based on some context clues, that would be about here. It would be somewhere near the Black Shroud on the edge of Mordona, based on some of the imagery we see. So if we go to the ARR trailer, we go to the New Beginnings trailer. So we get this with the Chocobo steps, and there's in the forest, where these people all charge out. I mean, the fact that it's Maelstrom, you see Eldam, you see all the different crews. But the fact that it's forest going out into plains, to me, would mean that it's probably... what would make a big amount of sense would be Black Shroud Mordona. When you think about, that's usually the cross point for a lot of the different Grand Companies. And then if you also see like these trees, and then you see, so the thing is you see Odin. So this is the Black Shroud, right? And then you see the Cold Mountains, but you see Crystal Tower, which would be in Kurthus. So, oh, actually, I bet you for sure this is the Black Shroud, and I almost can bet you money where I think it is. So one, the trees are the same. But secondly, you see this cobblestone path? This looks very close to where the Amdapor ruins are. And actually, this is probably near where the Ulthic stone is, as the symbol of Ulthic is the symbol you see Louis Sois when he casts his spell, if we go back. To right about here. So you can see his spell he casts is the symbol of Althic. Obviously, you know, Althic, space and time. So I bet you this is effectively should be in the South Shroud. It's also very similar to the footage of when you have a 1.0 account and you come and you started in Gridania and you come out of the like time port, or actually if you start in any of the cities but start in you get the time portaled, you start there. So I think that's definitely where this is. This should be right around Amdaport Keep. Which also would make sense because if you go further like south from there, you would see something like a plains, which would be around Ish Mordona. So especially, you know, get on Chocobo, they start riding it, and then this you could probably assume is similar to certain places in Mordona. Now, you could also argue that this is actually comparable to in Limsa, in eastern Lenosia. Like, there's some other places you could argue that this is, but based on its surrounding geography, my guess would be to assume it's more in Mordona. So, I hope that answers your question. There's a lot you can glean from a very small amount of information and lore we know in this game. Seems kind of remember being annoyed by these quests, but I guess I was sort of struggling to invest in the first in general since it wasn't the source. Yeah. And that's exactly why I ask. In Shadowbringers, the relative benign quests feel like an intentional pacing choice while it's happening, and most of the times I felt it worked. Umino, I feel the exact same. Totally agree with you. I think the thing is that you need breathing points, and I think Shadowbringers has enough energy in its other points that when it needs to breathe, it does well. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that was Northern Aldenard. Yeah. Oh, you mean, so not Aldenard, but Vilbrand. Because Aldenard's the main continent for Ogomoro. There's a volcano in Lenosia? Yeah, Ugomoro. You go under it when you fight Titan. Like, literally, you can see it if you go to Lenosia. I mean, even in Upper Lenosia, you can see it. It's like all right here. But like the mines are you starting to go under it. When you take the Aetheryte, you're teleporting underneath the mountain. That's why Titan's the heart of the mountain. I want to study history and culture anthropology. I still do, even if I'm not in college. So I found enjoyment learning about different cultures in game. Ryan, I feel that. That's very similar. You got the right location. Just know it showed up in 1.0 trailer 2. Oh yeah, so very different. So different places, completely different places between the two. Somewhere around Barstow on the edge of the desert. Yeah. Yeah, well, I was curious about that too. Yeah, hopefully that's helpful. Yeah, it does look like Mordona Mountain Range. Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that's what's going on. And I would say 99% certain that I'm right about the Amdaport Keep and Althic. Because if you even look at those steps, if you look in southern Gridania, in the Black Shroud, in the South Shroud, where would it be right here in Snakebull? It would be right along here-ish. Or at least somewhere in here. Because that you see the exact same trees and the exact same steps, and the Althic stone is right about here-ish. So you imagine that they, you know, if the trailer's kind of like playing fast and loose a little bit, but if they went south from here, you know, you end up south-ish, southwest-ish, you know, you go southwest-ish from there, you end up in Mordona. Now, like, the gameplay's fast and loose and lets us go straight from, you know, South Shroud to Eastern Thanalin, but we skip over Pagelthon and stuff. So, like, even if you just assume we're, like, skipping from here over to here, you know, that still passes through a lot of where Mordona could be, and also the heart of where the three city-states would be, you know, colliding. I mean, that's why there's PvP places in the heart of Mordona and, like you know, at Cartnow and stuff. Could you imagine getting kicked by a chocobo? It'd feel like a Mack truck hitting, right in the nads, too. Screenshot in the screenshot channel for reference. Thank you. Thank you very much, Bean. Yes, so that's perfect, Bean. Thank you. Let me pull that and show that for you guys, for those of you who are curious. See, this is the place I'm talking about. You'll see it's like very similar at cobblestones, trees, and then there's the Stone of Althic. And then there's other places, a couple other like paths nearby that are even probably a little bit closer. But very, very much that vibe. Oh, hi, Deadpool. Oh, hi, Mark. What if they didn't teleport or move and just went forward in time and the planet's rotation just changed their location? I mean, you could speculate that. I would say it's probably more likely that they are teleported in physical space, and based on what we get from Koji's statements, it's that they went into a form of stasis, and that articulates, you know, Althic's power of time, but also them traveling through physical space also would articulate and reference, you know, Althic's power of spatial, you know, control. So to me, I would definitely go with probably not as likely, especially because if that were true, you wouldn't just be thinking about the planet's rotation, you'd also be thinking about the planet orbiting. And if the star is orbiting, then you'd just probably be thrown out into the void of stars. the sea of stars. Was there enough water for the plot? No, only half, I see. Well, let me refill the jug for you. I appreciate that they put a time mechanic to, like, have some urgency, but also, like, you know, it's not like it's that far away. After Heaven's Word, I took those people teleporting there as Arbor and his gang, hence why they look so thrilled and a bunch of nature. So no, that is supposed to be the Warrior of Light. And it's supposed to be representative of your friends. So that is, if you have a 1.0 character, actually, I have a file. I have a file of what it looks like if you start as a 1.0 character. If I don't have it saved anywhere useful, I'm gonna just, yeah, I can't use it for now. I won't show it for now, but so if you're a 1.0 character, that was what happened to you, basically. And the other people there with you. And that's why, like, the guy who looks kind of like Arbor is supposed to be the Warrior of Light, your Warrior of Light. Also why he doesn't have chin hair, you know, like a goatee like Arbor has. And then the others are supposed to kind of represent your friends, basically. Deadpool, you wanna come say hi to people? Come here. Yeah, Derplander. How'd you get wet? What did you do? Is there supposed to be the other side of the map, other continents, and the opposite side of the world? Yeah, there's Othard, you got Ilsabard, you've got the New World, and you got Mericidia. So we're gonna be going to Mericidia in 7.0. No, that's not confirmed, but we're going to Mericidia in 7.0. I'll stake my reputation on that. You can blatantly make fun of me if I'm wrong, but I'm happy to just stay we're going to Mericidia. Well met, travelers. I observed you earlier speaking with the others. Have you need of something? You watered the crops. Ah, my apologies for not noticing sooner. I've been rather distracted of late. Watering the crops was always Todia's duty, but she's no longer with us. We have since taken to sharing the duty, though never with guests. You are most kind. Is there anything else we can do to help? We could plan something if you like. There's no need. Also, Keelhaul, I would point out, it would not be crazy based on the fact that we got a Sildee variant dungeon that we'll get a Gelmoran variant dungeon, as we actually never go into Gelmoria's city. The Palace of the Dead is just actually like one of their buildings, basically, but in the North Shroud, there's actually an entrance to the Gelmoran city. So one day we're gonna get a lot more about the Duskwights, just you wait. From that as well. If not about Duskwights in specific, we will from the Gelmorian culture as a whole. The plot is small, it is true, but it provides us with enough to survive. We ask no more. Here, Cathra, I'll pull you up a video real quick. I don't know how you manage. I gotta make my, actually, yeah. Well. Have the Blessed not considered leaving? Life would surely be easier almost anywhere. V, are you here? Or Bean, are you here? Can I get one of you guys to message me and write down world geography explanation, short or video? I can understand why you might say that, but the easiest path is not always the right one. Tell me, do you know our history? How our faith came to be? Yes, I believe so. The Knights Blessed was initially formed by those who lost their homes in the wake of the flood. What began as an occasional gathering of survivors eventually grew into a community, which ultimately decided to strike out on its own in Raktika, Greatwood. Thank you, V. Thank you for taking care of those notes. This makes me so easier to not have to worry about it. I see. You have read your history, but there is a history that is told, and there is the one that is lived. Like so many in those times, the first of the Knights Blessed lost everything. Their homes, their loved ones, all they held dear. To make matters worse, none could say what became of the souls of those lost to the flood when their bodies were reborn as sin-eaters. The people were without answers, without hope. Their gods have drowned along with everything else. It seemed that nothing was beyond the reach of the light. But soon, they realized that where there is light,
there must also be darkness, and in truth, they found new faith, a belief that the souls of the departed could yet find peace beyond these burning skies, the sunless sea above. That is why we pray for the safe passage of wayward souls unto the blessed black abyss, for the return of the night, that we might someday look upon the kingdom of heaven with our own eyes.
Have a great night, Tracy. May you enjoy the sunless sea.
We remain in these woods for the selfsame reason. Our founders first chose them, that we may lead lives of simplicity with the shade of these trees as a constant reminder of our faith. With so many seeking paradise in Yulmore, it's refreshing to find people who value a humbler existence. You are kind to say so. Many consider our way a life of foolishness, and so it must seem to those who yet cling to their worldly possessions. In times of such as these, when everything can be taken away in an instant, it is all too easy to lose sight of why we fight, to go on living. It is not to hold fast to material things, but to hold those who went before us in our hearts, to keep alive the legacy they have left us. This we must do for them, our children and generations yet unborn. To keep their legacy alive.
Oh, good dual work. Make Memphilia story progress while also giving you world information. Oh, Ishikawa, you never do one thing. You must always do two, and I appreciate you for it. Even when it's a little bit slow, I appreciate it. Tell me, for whom do you fight? Tell me, whom do you serve? Without answers, eh? Yeah. Stuff is the basis for what once. One thing I'd love to explore more on is the Ronkan Empire. I'm nervous to see the ones from its in-game origin as a basis for a 14 version, but current patch stuff shows that we kind of base old game stuff as basis for what once was. I'm not entirely sure I fully understand your point, Astral, but it seems interesting. So I love the Memphilia story. It's a well done story. I only wish there was more of it. One day, though.
Done trending to the crops already.
Do a super chat. Make Elio say, "Real shit, I still words because I'm so happy." It's true. It allows me to buy him treats and he gets to eat them.
Very good. It should not be long before your room is ready. Runar! In the woods. Sin Eaters! I fear they may have the touch.
Where?
In the grove to the southwest. For mercy, they have yet to wander any closer to Silverbar.
Then we have no need to engage. Inform the guard that no one is to set foot outside the village until they have moved.
But sir, what of Todia's Heartstone? It must be retrieved before the service.
Of all the times for Sin Eaters to appear. Ugh.
Are you just going to leave them alone?
Under normal circumstances, we would not hesitate in striking the beasts down. But if they indeed have the touch, I would not risk them corrupting one of our own.
What was that you said about a stone? A few days passed. Todia, a child of the Knights Blessed, was slain by Sin Eaters. We succeeded in retrieving her body, but in our haste we failed to notice her necklace was gone. Strung to it was a pendant of jade, her heartstone. All of the Knights Blessed are given such stones at birth. It was the most valuable possession one can own. It is a custom to present the heartstone of the deceased at their funeral as an offering to the heavens. And now? What if I could find it for you? I have experience fighting Sin Eaters, and the light's corruption doesn't touch me like it does the others.
Master Matoya called you Minfilia, did you not? Are you truly the Minfilia, descended from the Oracle? Even so, I dare not ask you to risk your life for the blessed.
I understand how you feel, but I can't stand by knowing that your people are in need and I can help. Please, let me do this.
Very well. But if the danger proves too great, you must retreat.
I could never forgive myself if we were forced to move to second service. I nearly forgot about Thancred. What if he returns before I do? Don't worry, I'll come with you. Thancred doesn't need to know anyways. Thank you. With you at my side, I'm certain we can deal with them in no time at all. Go swiftly, and may the shadows keep you both. Like with the Rongan Empire, is it 1-for-1 exact as it's depicted in Final Fantasy V, aside from the floating city in 5, or did they do something new? They did something new. Very much. Like Alag and the even though the Crystal Tower and its story, like, superficially is really similar to what happens in FF3, it's deeply different. And I would say that the Crystal Tower is probably the thing in 14 that is the most close to being one-to-one. I guess the other thing you could say is Ivalice, but even then, not. Maybe the Matsuno stuff with Ivalice, you might be able to argue that. But avoiding that, I would say Crystal Towers and Crystal Towers are both really different. The Ronka and to be fair, I don't remember 5 very, very strongly, so when I replay it with Niniria, I'll definitely double check that. Speaking of, Niniria and me are back to doing our Final Fantasy replays on Thursdays, starting this Thursday, as Niniria's schedule has opened up. But no, I mean, it's similar, very similar in a lot of ways, but no, much more of a taking a general idea and putting it in. Like, even, like, Black Mage, right? The iconography of Black Mage in 14 is, like, very similar to other games, but it's still very, very different, very, very specific to 14. I know jobs are different than cultures, but Ivalice is missed bad because it's combining all its universes' histories into one package, right? Yeah. I know locations from Tactics and Vagrant Story exist, and there's a lot of 12 stuff, like Fran, for instance. Like, there's a lot of stuff from 12 that's in it. 12's less, I guess you could say Tactics Advanced, but... There, the Sin Eater. I know it's not the same motherfucker, but anytime I see them, I want to kill these motherfuckers. Going down. There's actually probably a lot more 12 than Vagrant Story. I was hoping there would only be one. There's no way we can search for the stone without dealing with them first. Let's get to it then. What? Shouldn't we make a plan first? Though there are only 2. I'll draw one of them away. You can deal with the other. I mean, the fact that she plans to go toe-to-toe with one of these is fascinating. Also, with her... I wonder if she could even be converted to it. Well, I guess probably. I mean, the same way. Yeah, probably with a sufficient amount of light, she could be. Even for all of her protections. Does anyone here main Dark Knight and play it at Savage level? Also seems overrelated. Yes, we're gonna try moving maps from Monday to Wednesday so that people can get tomestones to avoid, like, you know, because we've been doing it for Monday, but most people are full up on tomestones at that point anyways. Same time, 7 Central, so we can take advantage of weekly reset. Be sure to sign up if you're interested. Yes, if you ever want to do maps or PvP, we have weekly events being run by Bean and V that to allow people to do things like PvP and to work on your reward track for that and have a fun time, as well as maps and have a fun time with that. So definitely go and sign up for those events over on the Discord. I'm legit curious why the Amdapori mages created golems that look like Sin Eaters. Oh, so we've talked about that, Astral. I also have a video on that. My pitch is probably to do with the fact that they're so associated with white magic that they could have inadvertently or intentionally created a Sin Eater upon the source. And that because they also have been historically done some fucked up shit as well. So it wouldn't be crazy for them to do experimentation. If you take that into account, it seems most likely that they would have created it themselves because they would not have been in line with the existence of Sin Eaters on the first, because they've only existed on the first for 100 years on the first, and from our standpoint, a couple months, which means that Amdapor could have never seen that or envisioned that whatsoever.
And then the thing is that they created Soken as a major part of their society. So if they accidentally created one and then saw it, they might be like, oh, okay, that was a nightmare. We never want to deal with that again. But at the same time, that was a very powerful thing. What if we created a Soken from it? In an image. Yeah, Astriel, Minfilia, Sin Eater would be scary.
Elio, there you are. It's done, though. I fear it was a bit careless. I'll do better next time. I promise. I'm fine. You don't need to worry about me. More importantly, we have to find the Heartstone. They said it was made of jade, right? I'll search over there in the brush.
Umino, would you say that, I mean, as long as you're not talking about playing perfect optimal Dark Knight, you're basically just trying to avoid capping everything. You trying to basically you're using your Delirium, Carven Spit, most of that stuff off cooldown. You always want to keep 3,000 MP so you can use Blackest Night, and you're basically just turning things like Blood Weapon and all that, and Salted Earth and stuff, basically off cooldown. Like, yes, there are some optimal things you can do, or if like you're doing Savage, you're going to be doing, you know, you're going to want to try to be saving for burst windows and stuff. But for the most part, if you're doing most content, you're basically just, yeah, you agree? Okay, cool. Because I haven't played it like in Savage or anything since Shadowbringer, so I wanted to make sure that my impression was that really hasn't changed much since, but. So white and black mages would have created a first scenario, but didn't get as bad as it did because the rejoining in question wasn't tipped towards light. Well, I mean, you could argue that because of the countervailing force of white and black mages, not necessarily that black are so specifically associated with darkness, but like the thing is that they use white magic, but they didn't tilt the source towards light, if that makes sense. Just because they used white magics. Like, it's much more of a broader thing, too. Like, it's more, hey, are the forces of good and stasis kind of prevailing to an extreme? That allows light to be ascendant. And I think things were a little bit too tumultuous in the 5th Astral for anything like that to happen. But, you know, feels like the rejoining had been tipped towards light. White mages would have had more issues, but because it was water, it favored more them and black mages. So, yes, while Conjury has water spells, white magic as a whole is more rooted less in, check that. Which one am I missing? But, like, white magic as a whole doesn't have a super strong association with elemental magics. I mean, it still does kind of with earth and water, but really has more Conjury than anything. If it was tilted towards light, they might have been somewhat more ascendant of umbrality and stasis. It's possible. If it was tilted towards, I mean, because the other thing is, like, remember that it's more like the source gets tilted, but it's especially important how the reflection gets tilted as well. And the flood that happens there, whereas then the source is primed to accept it in a cataclysmic event, you know? All week events are in our Discord. You can join at https://discord.gg/Eorzean archives. Thank you, V. Thank you, Bean. I don't know. You'd think V and Bean, like, are pretty different, and yet for some reason my mouth's like Veen. I should just say Veen. I think you could really argue the metaphysics at length on how things might have gone if they had been tilted in different directions, and why exactly the source itself was primed towards water. And Neri has had some theories about that in the past as well. Did you have any luck? It's beautiful. This has to be it. You know, Thancred always said you were a man of many talents, and I think I'm beginning to understand what he meant. I have much to learn if I'm to be half the hero you are. The hero she was. No, I'm sorry. Forget I said anything. We should hurry back to Slitherbow. Nor the others are probably worried. Does the source get tipped in the opposite direction of shards? No, they get tipped in the same. So like so remember that because the good guys are winning and like the forces of light, not only just the forces of darkness, but astrality are kind of being tilted away, and Black Rose is being happen. That's what prepped, and Black Rose was going to happen. That's what prepped the source itself to be able to accept the light. So you have to tilt them both in the same direction, not opposite directions. We don't know exactly what the mechanism for what tilted, what prepared and tilted the source for the flood of water that came from the 12th, 7th is 7th, the 5th or the 12th reflection. God, I still need to practice remembering that. Usually it's a cataclysmic event of the associated elements. So also, it's not as clear. Astrality and the 7th and 8th are also weird because of being polarities, whereas the first 6 are like elemental in nature. So for instance, it could have just been there was already a big storm brewing that caused the 2nd with the lightning storms. You know, for instance, it's a cataclysmic event that allows the tilts to be complete. So think about, for instance, the Crystal Tower creating a shockwave through the earth because of being sunk below the ground, and that's what kicked off the 4th. Thank goodness you're safe. I have begun to fear the worst. By all that is dark, you found it. We can proceed with our service as planned. These blessed gems serve not only to protect us in life, but to guide our spirits unto the sunless sea and the hereafter. Even should we be felled by the Sin Eaters, so long as these gems are recovered, our souls are ensured peace in the dark. Happy Valentine's Day, Yukio, and happy Valentine's Day to you all. All right, how does the Black Rose thing work that caused light to strengthen it? It feels like poison of any kind would align everywhere else. No, well, because Black Rose works by being, it's an umbral poison. What it does is it stills your aether. So imagine a poison that like went into your body and just stopped all of your blood moving completely. So it's fundamentally umbral. So if you made everything umbral, you'd increase its power because everything would already be tilted towards it, even slowing, you know, it basically enhances its natural power. Did they explain how a quick rejoining happens? Yeah, it's Shadow. Have you played Shadowbringers, Astriel? So it's the scene where when you first, right after we're getting Alphino and Alice, after you've done both their stories and you go back to the Crystarium, they talk very much in depth about it. I would just go watch that cutscene. Does the Calamity also happen after a shard is rejoined or while it's in the process? It's happening at the same time. The Calamity is when the shard is being rejoined. So the event that when the Calamity happens, that's when the shard is being rejoined and there's a flood of aether. It's like firebending during Sozen's Comet. That's a great way of putting it, V. Or the process of being rejoined with the finish being what caused the apocalypse. No, the apocalyptic event. So imagine that there's a wall between source and reflection. The apocalyptic event is what shatters that wall to allow the reflection to be drawn into the source, effectively. It basically cracks the wall. This scene that's coming up is actually really beautiful. Words fail to express my gratitude for your kindness. You have done further blessed. I must insist you and your friends attend to Todia's service as our honored guests. There is so much we must do to prepare, but please go and inform the others. It will be held in the darker. When you arrive, there should be an attendant present to explain the proceedings. Elio and I learned so much about the Knights Blessed while you were away, and we helped them recover a lost heirloom out in the woods. I know I wasn't supposed to leave, but they really need our help. There were Sin Eaters and... As long as he has accompanied you. But do try to be more careful. Your injuries could have been a lot worse. See, like, if Thancred had been like, you did what? Like, had, like, yelled at her or something here, I can understand people like Thancred's a bad dad. But, like, this is very supportive, right? And he's confident in her and believes in her. He worries, but... How did you... Let's just say a little birdie told me, and is telling me now that Elio has business with us. Is something the matter? We gotta go to see an event. They asked us to attend the service. Well, of course we'll go. It's being held in the darker, is it? Well, we'll take care not to be too late. I promise. Yeah, I thought the flood of light and darkness happened over a course of days for them. For who? Because we don't experience a flood of light or a flood of darkness on the source. The flood of light is like the flood of darkness that happened on the 13th that enveloped it. Light seemed to happen over a period of days, probably. But part of why it may have been slow to happen is because of its nature, how like it wasn't as all-encompassing with Eden and all that. I'm still embarrassed that I thought Amphilia and Thancred were girlfriend and boyfriend before Shadowbringers. Astriel, you and so many other people. I think it's a very normal interpretation, or at the very least that Thancred has unrequited love for her or something. And it's much more complicated than that. I mean, to be fair, he does have the conversation with Kryl that does elaborate that that's not the case during 3.x, but still. The elderly woman hands you a candle. She then points over at a nearby corner where you might place it. Oh, the flood of light for the shard in question. What do you mean jump ship? Because people aren't jumping ship. The only people who are able to travel between them are Ascians. And the fact that we were able to travel between First and Source is basically unprecedented. I guess the one exemption being the 13th and the Voidal Tears, but like for I think for what you're mostly asking for other stuff. People were only able to travel between the 13th and other reflections after it was subsumed by darkness. And the astrality allowed for tears in the wall of reality. I got a donut.
It seemed only right that we show our faces. May we join you?
Let us begin.
I really love the time that they take for the Knights Blessed, because it makes this scene and the scene at the end of the Revel hit real hard.
I thank you all for coming to pay respects to our fallen daughter of the night. In the light, she was known as Todia, but in the dark, we shall remember her always as Menine. Let us each take a moment to offer her our prayers. We entrust her now to the night's sweet embrace. In darkness will she be free from pain and suffering, now and forevermore. May her soul find peace in the sunless sea of heaven, and in the love we bear for her in our hearts.
There's an interesting localization choice, because they say in heaven instead of the heavens, which I'd be curious to look at the original Japanese text. When no starry sky remains,
That vessel represents the night sky, the sunless sea of heaven.
our stars will light it and light the way. The souls of the past lighting the way.
We call upon you now, O bringer of shadow, to lead this gentle soul unto the sea. We call upon you, O warrior of darkness, to deliver her unto paradise everlasting.
With or without us, these people are already fighting for a better world, the best world they can. We're just here to give them a hand.
I am told you assisted in the preparations for the service. On behalf of the Blessed, you have my sincerest thanks. The enduring legend of the Warrior of Darkness owes much to the traditions of these people. And none were more ardent in their faith than Todia. She would have been greatly moved by your presence.
God, man, I feel so torn because on the one fucking hand, to say that like ARR, Heavensward, and Stormblood are fucking the prequel story to set you up to be able to play Shadowbringers and Endwalker is not only incredibly reductive and incredibly limiting about the capacity that those things have for storytelling and the great characters and wonderful things they have going on, but boy, is it a step up in Shadowbringers! Like, they just, like, their storytelling just stepped up here, and it stayed stepping up from there. Like, it stayed high from there, but, like... God, it feels so reductive to say, but there is a truth there. I should have liked to have met her.
You might not deliver her to the heavens, but if you could deliver the night sky to her people, the real night sky, it would be the next best thing.
Oh, it ate my
Prayers
Ishikawa.
would finally be answered. They could gaze up at the firmament and see their ancestors in every twinkle of the stars. We cannot allow their hopes and dreams to drown in the light. We have to bring back the dark. If we don't, who will?
I don't even think it just became more complex. I think it's more than that. I think it's just more deft overall, and also the like level of voice acting and competency around like so much, like, not competency.
Thinking of all those we have lost,
We'll talk about it in a bit.
No, it's all right. We will bring back the dark.
He's a good dad.
Mayhap sooner than later, in fact.
He's not a perfect dad. He believes in his daughter, though.
Eorzean and I finished deciphering the tablet, and its contents were most illuminating. Let us reconvene in my chambers. We have much to discuss.
Thancred had 5 years. 5 years where he basically every day had to choose between basically his wife dying or his mother dying. I know that's obviously not his role with Minfilia, but like, I'm just saying, and he walked that path every step of the way and had complicated feelings about it, and yet still stood by Minfilia in everything. So like, again, I can understand being real frustrated with Thancred more than so maybe I am, but like also, I just can't. I gotta defend him if someone says he's a bad dad. Because I think he's put in an impossible situation, and he does pretty startlingly good in the face of it. I just know that the Pendant Knight's Blast looks similar to... Minfilia's honestly my favorite character in Shadowbringers because of the great development she gets, not just herself, but other Minfilia too. Totally agree. Also, I love the scene. This is so pretty, especially the music. The scene hit so hard. Yeah. Sorry I can't give you my donut, Raven. Pretty and sad. I still think that even if the Ascians had rejoined all the shards, there is so much corrupted aether here, like the corrupted crystals of Mordona, that there wouldn't have been the same amount of aether. Well, the thing is, remember, corrupted aether is just highly astral aether, so it's still just the same amount of aether, but astral. So by the same token, if you like rejoined the 13th, or not the 13th, but the first, it might like help fix that. And also, if all the aether was rejoined and certain things of certain beings were able to be back to the way they were, they would have the ability to manipulate aether. So Tomorrow and Tomorrow is a wonderful song. Also, I love that, I think it's Tomorrow and Tomorrow Reprise. I love that there's one version of Tomorrow and Tomorrow, but you never hear it go into its second half until the very end. The level of storytelling became much more complex. Yeah, I think it's just more depth. There's much more strong emphasis on characterization as well as the overarching plot, and on top, and like character and characterization, and letting characters move the story along while also the story being fundamentally interesting in its own right. I think the amount of voice acting increased. I think the fundamental visual storytelling is just a lot better. I think the pacing's a lot better. I think it just does everything that the earlier ones did, but it does it a lot better and more. You know? Like in Gundam, the inciting incident, the 1 year war was going to go and drop. It dropped 15th January, didn't fully drop until a day or so later on the 17th. The reason I'm asking, I'm always fascinated by apocalyptic events, that how long it took. So the first we don't know for sure, though a couple days to a couple weeks. It also depends on how time was flowing between when the Warriors of Light on the first ended up teleporting, because they might have been on the source for a while, but it could have been, you know, how much time that ends up being, you know, is unclear. So, but it wasn't instant. We know it wasn't instant. So probably a couple days, maybe a couple of weeks. As for the Flood of Darkness, we don't know for sure yet. And I suspect we'll find out more soon. Yeah, Minfilia. So there was a whole day of people watching Colony Drop and Target. Yeah. Sorry, Astro, it's a very good conversation, very interesting one, I'm sure. But like, gotta focus on Final Fantasy a little bit. Great parents are often flawed. Yeah. It's deep focus on character complex themes treated with nuance, doing multiple things at once, plot, character, etc. Just a lot of good stuff. And it's true, right? Like the amount of times it is able to, instead of focusing on character or plot, does plot and character, or do two things at once. Like the Knight's Bless is important for the world. It's important for Minfilia. It's important for Y'shtola. It's important for what's going to happen next. It's important for 5.3. It's, you know, it's like serve as many duties as you can. Be efficient, you know? Thatch is a great dad. He tries his best. I'm going to get heading home. Okay, have a good night, Deathberry. Enjoy your sunless sea. Hope you have a great day, and happy Valentine's Day to you, too. Yeah, I just used Gundam as a bad example. No, I don't think it was... I think your point's a good example. Just, like, forgive me if I'm, like, jumping over it a little bit. I think I totally see what you're saying. And the answer is we just don't exactly know. And I would say that, like, kind of talking about the earlier point we did about information in 14... having a general sense, but not a hyper-specific sense, is sometimes a strength rather than a weakness. Sometimes it can be frustrating. Like, for instance, how much time exactly has passed between, you know, ARR and Endwalker? Where it's like, I want to know so bad! But also, keeping it open allows them to do a lot more narrative choices, and it's just really isn't that fundamentally important to, like, make choices. And you could also make, you know, you can make presumptions. You can just be like, if you wanted to RP it, you could just be like, it's been, well, the twins haven't gone through the growth spurt, so I'm just saying it's been 2 years. And maybe you'll find out later you're wrong, because they, like, actually define it at some point. But it's like, you know, it shouldn't be too hard to adjust that. I'd much rather them take their time to keep it a little bit ambiguous to allow themselves more creative choices, than to define it right away and highly limit themselves. A good example, imagine, for instance, if Ilsabard's cloud cover had been revealed during ARR and it was only like 3 countries, and then later on they realized, oh, we wanted to do a lot more storytelling here, but now we're kind of fucked. By keeping the cloud cover over Ilsabard, they now have a lot of chance to make really interesting stories there in the future and have a lot more control over what might be under there. So while it can be frustrating, in general, you know, as long as they're doing a lot of other good storytelling, I'm sympathetic to letting them take their time.
Good, you're clear. Thanks to the X-Art's gift, our next course of action is now clear. Let me begin by first explaining the origins of this tablet. Initially, I believed it might detail the history of the Church of the First Light. Much to my surprise, it dates back to the end of the Ronkan Empire, and was likely written under the direction of the reigning ruler. It was a time of strife and unceasing war with neighboring nations. With each passing day, they yielded more and more territory to their enemies. In their desperation, petitions for aid were sent out to their allies. This was one such petition. And you think this ancient petition will somehow help us get to Yishmael? Indeed we do, for etched into this tablet is a method by which one may prove themselves an ally to the Ronkan Empire. Provided we are able to decipher said instructions, we may entreat the the ruins protectors to grant us safe passage. If you have not done the tribal quest for the Qatari in Shadowbringers, it's basically the tribal quest for this region. I highly recommend you do it. It's wonderful in terms of like history and information. The problem, however, is I presently lack the resources to decipher them in their entirety. We have but one recourse. There exists a stone monument inscribed with ancient Ronkan text and translations into modern dialect, which came into use after the fall of the Empire. I am confident it will suit our purposes. Where can we find this monument? Here in Sita, quite close to Slitherbow, in fact. The good news ends there, however, for it is in the possession of a rather radical faction of dark worshippers, the Children of Everlasting Dark. If I am to study the monument, I must infiltrate their encampment. I have no intention of taking longer than an absolute necessary, but I will nevertheless require time to transcribe the text I need. To ensure that I will have enough, I'm afraid I must ask you and Thancred to assist me. And before you even ask, the answer is no. If we're to remain unseen, our group must be as small as possible. All right, I'll stay here until you return. We won't be long. If anything happens, you keep her safe. Remember, she's like, what, 16 too? So like she's... So like him being somewhat protective is not like him overburdenedly being protective. And also him not taking her is not like, oh, you're too unskilled. It's like, we need to keep it as small as possible. So Eorzean, Jay, and you, like, doesn't make sense to come. Kudodo, did I miss Runar? A little bit, but he'll come back soon. Then let us convene outside to the west of Slitherbow, where the path diverges. In fact, just for you, I'll go talk to him quick. I think they did the same thing for 11, even with the story finished. It's still vague how much time has passed between base game and Rhapsody's Vana'diel. Yeah, honestly, I actually wouldn't be surprised. Frankly, I'll be surprised if they keep it undecided forever, and I'm going to be surprised if they ever answer it with the time bubble. Like, either way, I'd be shocked. I had no right to involve you on our troubles. Still, without your help, today's service would not have been possible. The Knights Blessed are in your debt. Also, because some expansions you do, time skips back 20 or so like years with Wings of the Goddess taking you back to the Crystal Wars, yeah. I mean, to be fair, too, like 14 up until 1557 has defined its time. Well, I guess 1552. But 1557 of the 6th Astral Era is not a thing because it ends at 1552, I believe. But I use 1557 as technically year 5 of the 7th Astral Era. Or, well, year 1 of the 7th Astral Era, but year 5, because the Umbral Calamity happened in the 5 year. Technically, it would be year 1 of when we finish ARR is year 1 of the 7th Astral Era, and there was a 5-year interregnum period of the 7th Umbral Era. Yeah. The encampment we seek is to the north, but it would be foolish to simply rush in. A guard has been posted at the cleric to keep watch over the children. Perhaps he has aught to share with you of recent activity. But we must tread carefully. There's a chance we may encounter them along the way. Stay close and stay alert. I would avoid a confrontation if possible. They rejoice in dealing deaths to others, claiming that in doing so they cleanse their victim of sins and usher them into the sunless sea. I would rather not sully my hands defending myself against such madmen. What do you mean 1.0 time skips a bit? Do you mean between 1.0 and 2.0? Because it is 5 years. We know that for sure. Channels Brian David Gilbert's Legend of Timeline. The time break! It's so funny. I was just watching BDG yesterday. I wish that I could wear hats without looking like a little lad. Join our YouTube channel for the low price of not much a month. You get custom emojis, special badges, and the warm fuzzy feeling of supporting your favorite archivists. For those of you who have custom emojis, for which you've only had to pay $1 in order to get, would you like to share them right now? Or whichever one's your favorite one. So yeah, Astral, if you mean 1.0 to 2.0, it's 5 years. I mean, over the course of 1.0, I think 1.0 is technically, or if you mean the fact that we get Echo Visions, if that's what you mean, like, yeah, we see, like, up to 10 years in the past, I believe. Of course, that's your favorite V. Well, I thought that start jumps a bit 30 or so years during the story of 1.0. So... Again, I'm not sure, it jumps a bit, do you mean, like, from the beginning of 1.0 to the end of 1.0? Because we have Echo Visions. So, for instance, we see events in the past, like what happened to Asilia and her father. But those are visions.
The same way that we get echo visions of what happened during Cards Now during 2.0, even though that was 5 years ago. Or what happens 20 years ago in this game at one point, or in this expansion at one point. Double worms! Oh, double worms. By the blessed dog. Thank goodness you're unharmed. We would have arrived sooner, but we too had a rather unwelcome visit from the children. Your acquaintance of Master Matoya. Then, my apologies. The children have been acting strange of late, so I thought I'd take a closer look. I was careless. Strange, what have you seen? I mean, Astro, that's a really reasonable mistake to have, especially if you don't have the contents and you see those cutscenes out of context. And 1.0 is kind of a mess anyways, so. At first, there seemed to be nothing out of the ordinary. The usual gathering of ingredients for poison from flora and fauna. But then I took notice of their venomous spiders. They've been breeding them in such great numbers. It's as if they're preparing for something. Any ideas as to what? It could be anything, really. If it meant the end of the blessed, nothing would be too cruel or violent for them. But perhaps we can use their present preoccupation with spiders to our advantage. If we were to introduce a threat to the nests where they keep them, the children would be compelled to save them. Bees, for example, are natural predators of spiders. Set them loose in the nests and we would have our opportunity to sneak into their encampment. What a mischievous plan. I like it. With a bit of smoke, we should be able to subdue a few colonies long enough to secure their hives. Have you anything we might be able to use? We should have smoke bombs at the outpost just over there. Then it's settled. Grab a few smoke bombs from the outpost and search about for the beehives. I imagine the bees won't take too kindly to your visit, but once they're knocked out, take the beehives and bring them back here. 2 will suffice, I should think. Not the bees! Not the bees! Also, one worry I have for our Echo is that, are they setting up as having an Eye of Etro thing because it looks rather painful to use the Echo? No, it's just painful to use the Echo because we don't have control over it, and like the influx of memory aether can be overwhelming. But if anything, we actually have a lot better control of it, and like we're less incapacitated by it now compared to when we started. If anything, it's inverse Eye of Etro, but that's actually a good reference point in terms of like, is it that sort of situation? And I very much not that. Think about it. The first time it happens, the first few times it happens, it basically makes us completely pass out and knocks us out in like ARR. But by the time of like Shadowbringers or Endwalker, it might be like a small headache for a second, but like we're able to come back and we're good to go. And able to shake it off. The Eye of Etro, it's from 13.2. And it's part of like the best plot twist that 13 has going. God, I wish Lightning Returns would have been good, because 13.2 was so good, and then it had such a good setup at the end. Then Lightning Returns... Okay, again, Lightning Returns can be quite neat fun to play, so to anyone who likes it mechanically, I don't love it mechanically, but it's... You know, it's kind of more of the same, but I totally can get behind that. But narratively... narratively, Lightning Returns. I don't think a very good game. Like, I think the original 13 is flawed in a lot of ways and has a lot of pacing issues, but I don't think its, like, story is bad. I think Lightning Returns just has a bad story. Without bees, we die, it's true. Yeah, the shit made me so sad because I 100% 13.2. 13.2 is a great game. Like, despite the fact that its sequel is not good and does not pay off the good things that 13.2 does, I highly recommend playing 13.2. Especially if you even kind of liked 13. Like, if you were like, 13's kind of, but, you know, I thought it had moments, maybe. I would super recommend 13.2, because 13.2's basically takes all the good things about 13, does those, and then takes all the bad things about 13 and does them well. Fighting bees with a huge sword. I'll use the next weapon I see. I'll use that the next time I see wasps. I mean, you just take the flat of the blade instead and just, like... What is the most ridiculous weapon in 14 to fight bees with? Is it fists? I need your guys' opinion on this one. What is the most ridiculous weapon to fight bees with? Because, you know, compared to some of the others, I feel like Greatsword's not the worst. Axe is not the worst. Paladin's not the worst. Gunblade kind of actually makes kind of sense. Katana's stupid, but no stupider than the others. Ninjas... Reaper? Shooting the bees? I mean, then you're just basically doing Wanted. I mean, is it Red Mage? You're just poking the bees, basically? I mean, you're casting spells, too, so... With a dueling arm. Newliths, shooting them down, that's pretty good. Dragoon Lance, I mean, you have to be very accurate, yeah. Lux, good to see you, glad to have you. Or a gun, yeah. Fighting bees with a bow and arrow. Okay, but hear me out. I think that's really kind of dumb, but also kind of awesome. Whereas with, like, a scythe, you kind of just look silly. I'm covered in bees! I'm covered in bees! Now I'm just thinking of Eddie Izzard. I like my woman like I like my coffee in a plastic cup. No, wait, fishing pole? What did Bean say? When I was a kid, I used to whack bumblebees with a bulb. Culinarian skillet. I don't know, I feel like that might work. You could like try like against a tree and stuff. It's basically a fly swatter, but solid. Which defeats the point of a fly swatter.
The guard returned to Slitherbow, but not before offering his thanks. As for the beehives, Thinker and I were successful in acquiring what we need. How did you fare?
Alchemist Alembic.
This is more than enough. The children are certain to be displeased. Let us hurry before the bees begin to stir. The children's settlement is to the west, a place they call Woven Oath. According to the guard, there's an airway apart from the entrance, which leads to the spider's nest. If the fates are kind, the way will be clear.
Pickaxe. I love that all of you guys are immediately going to, like, hand and land rather than focusing on, like, the combat jobs. Leveling system suck, and they get tied into the oppressive feeling of being in a thrall, more or less, as being gifted powers, but still. What, for 13? The leveling system for 13? I think it's not great, because, like, the thing is, I like the sphere grid, but it's actually kind of remarkable how much 13 is, like, what if you did the exact same thing as 10, but did it in a way that was more restrictive and less interesting? Hand and land jobs need some love. I'm just glad you didn't say hand jobs need some love. Gotta be really accurate. I mean, you don't have a flamethrower at that level, right? Yeah, I mean, machinist with flamethrower, I mean, like, I guess you could say which job would be the stupidest job to fight bees, and that's of the combat jobs. And machinist probably makes the most sense. I mean, I guess Black Mage, but then you're still individually casting. Punching bees would be real dumb. Ass weapon, planisphere, they probably just nest in it. That's a good point. B, maybe, or you know, basically, especially if they're like digger wasps or like paper wasps, if you just have a, if you have the books, you're basically just giving them a place, you're giving them resources if you're a summoner or a scholar. I'm not a degen all the time. Throw cards at them.
Up there's the airway. Do you see it? A bit far, perhaps, but we should be able to toss the bag through. Though we should probably loosen the ropes keeping it closed. Enough that it falls open when it lands inside, anyway. May I do the honors? That should do it. Now we wait.
What is this? Ah! Bees! Bees! I'm covered in bees! By the abyss, they're everywhere! Help! Someone help! We have to save the spiders!
It sounds like our plan is working. Still, it is quite likely not all were drawn away from the posts. If you should come to blows with the children, I'll see to it any signs of the struggle are concealed. Failing that, I'll create a distraction to buy Hydaelyn more time. Should anyone get past me, it falls to you to guard her. Your concern is appreciated, but I sincerely doubt it will come to that. Why do I get the feeling you enjoy the idea of my loafing around, bored in the shadows? Come now, Thancred. The shadows are a fitting place for the Warrior of Darkness. Now, if you're both ready...
Goddess of the hand, you know. Yeah, the leveling system was trying to beat Sphere Grid, but did it awful. Yeah. Which is sad, because there's a lot of potential there. Like, yeah. I think I find I'm a lot more charitable with 13 the older I get, and appreciate what it was going for and the ways in which it failed to do so. I'm excited to replay it at some point, because I think it's got a lot of value to be had about even talking about where it's... Kind of like how 8... Like, 8 does a lot wrong mechanically and is, like, lopsided in a lot of ways, but it's interesting at the least. But 8 never got, like, an 8-2 to at least kind of try to do it right. Which is also why I want an 8 remake so bad. Oh, honestly, I want an 8 remake right now more than I want Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I forget which show, but this all reminds me of this line from it. I don't even kill spiders in my house. Yeah, not with a gun. Honestly, that sounds like a lot of shows I've watched before. Couldn't tell you. I'm gonna kill this one for it, because this is gonna take too long otherwise. Has anyone else played Hollow Knight? I have. Though it's interesting. I'm not a huge into 2D Metroidvania. I much prefer 3D Metroidvania, and like I just think in 3D a lot more. Like Hollow Knight's a phenomenal game. Don't get me wrong. And it's also like its lore is the sort of thing that's super up my alley. For some reason, it just never hit me. Like never played it at the right time. I'm sure if I played it as a kid or something, I would have been way more into it. But yeah, Hollow Knight's awesome. I'm about to ascend with the Gorb. Ascend as Gorb. Why don't we just throw bees at the Ascians to defeat them? I'm gonna go with because bees alone are not enough to kill nigh immortal gods. That's my guess. FF8 pixel remaster? What? That doesn't even make sense. Is it Gorbin time? God damn it.
The font of seeing suggests that this is the chamber for prayer. At the very least, they would not place this near potential distraction from their worship. Perhaps the monument is further in.
Could shoot spiders with a BB gun. Wouldn't hurt anything unless the spiders was on a glass object. That seems awfully specific, Cathra, but you're not wrong. I'd also rather not kill spiders, though. They're good friendos. Dude, I'm so excited for E3 and for us to learn more about Rocket! Ooh. I mean, y'all have seen me how I shouted about E3 when they announced it. I have guesses, Tam.
Yes, this is it. I will be but a moment. Keep watch of the entryway. On second thought, would you mind examining the murals on these walls while I look over this? At a glance, I can tell they're old, predating the founding of the Blessed and the Children, in fact. We're not like to come here a second time. It would behoove us to learn all we can.
Spiders are scary, but I let them do their thing. I've lived in a lot of basements, so I had to learn to like them, or at least appreciate them a long time ago. Unless it's a brown recluse. Those are not friends, that's true. I love that part of Hollow Knight where the knight gorbed. Y'all the worst. What have you started, V?
The mural appears to be very old. A ruler sits atop a throne, attended by their subjects.
Rocket Empire.
The mural appears to be fairly old. A knight shields himself and their comrades from encroaching darkness. The central figure is considerably faded.
Notice that this looks a little bit like Lamet, like Brandon, and I'll see an axe. That's probably Ardbert. And then, oh, I'm forgetting. Someone help me remember. I'm forgetting Archer and Caster's name. But the L is in the Mikote.
The mural appears to be ancient. A warrior in the middle stands triumphant over what appears to be a creature of shadow. Other figures surround the warrior, rejoicing in their victory.
Nalbert, thank you. And Renderay, thank you guys. Observe the butt.
You touched the butt.
Hey, Ryan, you and Tam worked together and you got it. I feel like I should remember Brenda Ray because it sounds like a southern name. Like she's like, "Hey y'all, I'm Brenda Ray."
These paintings, they seem familiar. Depictions of heroes throughout history. The Age of Gods, the Empire of Ronka, and this.
I pointed out Lamet. She was on the far left. Thanks, Sarah. See, right there, down there. Pointed her out.
There was a man, a researcher who pored over these pieces. He offered us work when we needed it, slaying beasts, delivering provisions. A funny old bugger he was.
Was he blonde with
good
glasses?
heart.
And his name Eric. Ardbert, Fbert,
He
Robert, and
believed
Cap.
this first painting dated back to a time of myth and legends. A tribute to the heroes of a long-forgotten era. The story went that it was rediscovered by an explorer from Ronka, who was so struck by its majesty that a second painting was commissioned, commemorating the heroes of their day. One day you will all be here too, he said.
Yeah, look, he's
Heroes
doing a voice.
immortalized forever. Maybe I'll paint you myself. I had a good laugh at that. We were only trying to make our way after all. Being heroes couldn't have been further from our minds.
And yet you were remembered all the same.
He actually went and did it. Before or after the flood, I wonder. Rather faded, isn't it, compared to the others? Or did someone try to scrape it off the wall? Well, maybe the man himself once he came to his senses. Do you suppose your deeds will warrant an addition to this collection? Or some other kind of monument?
There you are. I have everything I need. Let us quit this place.
Fuck, man. You know what fucking Ishikawa's real fucking good at? Writing characters that
Something
allow
the
the Warrior of Light to
We
talk
should
to
go.
themselves.
The others are waiting.
She came up with Frey, Mist, and Ardbert. She's really good at doing that. And also is kind of the one who like figured out the idea of having a relationship and conversation between Xenos and the Warrior of Light as mirrors was a useful and powerful tool. So she good at that. She good at that. Ardbert, Tallbert, Smallbert, Catbert, Bigbert. Cool. Yeah. Sorry, Mod had to check something. Okay. I believe now I have everything needed to finish deciphering what's happening. Tell me, Elio, do the murals appear to be of any significance? Depictions of heroes from the Age of Gods and Ronkan Empire, and immediately before the flood. The Age of Gods would have been, from their perspective, probably either pretty close after the Sundering, or what would have been semi-parallel to our first and second astral eras. Very astute observation. Perhaps in another lifetime you could have been a curator of antiquities, though it has no bearing on the task at hand. Perhaps the knowledge may prove to be of use in the future. Let us hurry to Slitherbow. The others are waiting. After we return, the two of you should rest a while. No doubt Runar will be eager to help you sample his cooking. As soon as I discover anything of importance, you will be the first to know. God! We should, like, make one of the funding goals an episode where I don't curse out loud. This is all your fault, your guys' fault for not reminding me to attune. I forgot to attune again. When Bean's giving me shit for that kind of joke, you know it's bad. Okay, guys, what song do you think Soken's gonna do for FanFest this year? Anyone got any theories? Try to avoid naming anything that's like a... You can name its name, but if it's not it doesn't give away what it is as a spoiler. You could also nod towards, like, for instance, if you think it's like Trial 3 of Endwalker, you could be like Trial 3 music for Endwalker. Gotta pay more attention. That was awful. Yeah. That's only if you want to deal emotional damage. However, Tam, they may want to deal emotional damage. You know, it'd be really cute, flow together. With like a bunch of the devs doing different stuff for it. Or something like that.
Elio, the guard told me you left with Master Todia to wove an oath. No sooner do you return than she locks herself away in her chambers, without so much as a word. So she knows how I worry when she leaves without telling me. Oh, but she is safe, and that is all that matters. You must be hungry after such a journey. Why not have a seat there by the fire? The stew will be ready soon.
I think he will sing Papaya. I feel like that's a safer bet than you meant it to be, you know. I would love Flow Together. Yeah, Flow Together would be great. I feel like that would be a really... Like, Flow Together isn't my absolute favorite, but boy, would that be meaningful, you know?
Deep, dark, far away, I have heard your voice.
Okay. It's so funny, Catherine. It's usually the first thing I do, but not on Elio, apparently.
Strange. The others on patrol should have returned by now. Our food will be overcooked if we wait any longer. We will just have to start without them. Would you call Master Matoya and the others?
I tire of these games, Eorzean. Why do you pretend you cannot see it? The blessing may spare him the fate of becoming a Light Warden. But you cannot be blind to the nascent corruption. He is not as he was in the Source. Though I have no proof, I fear that the light which poured forth from the Wardens was not negated at all. I fear it was absorbed, that he has been suffused with their light.
Though I have given thought to this possibility, I dare not speak until more is known.
By the time you deign to enlighten us, it may be too late, if it is not already. Eorzean, I know full well, after all these years, that you have only the best of intentions. But that does not make it any easier to put my faith in a man so infatuated with secrecy.
I love... Another thing Shadowbringers is doing really well here is making people on the same side while struggling with each other, and I think that's also really compelling. Because I think it's easy to just have...
I have had my suspicions ever since the Exarch bade you speak that day. But now I must ask. The 8th Umbral Calamity and all that followed. Everything you claim to have seen. Did you?
Bud.
Help! Someone help! The Ilmorans are come for us! We're under attack!
How many of you guys are planning to go to FanFest, by the way, if you can get tickets in Las Vegas? I like checking in every once in a while, see if people's plans have changed. God, it still makes me so angry when you understand what Sin Eaters are. Oh, this scene is so good. This is the scene that made me go from being a little bit uncertain about the Exarch to 100% believing he was a good guy. I think this is actually the pivotal scene to prove who the Exarch is.
Lord Vorrcer, how good it is to see you. How long has it been? Not since your inauguration, unless I'm mistaken. Too long, at any rate. May I say how humbled I am to be invited not only into your city, but your home. You are as generous as ever.
And you as disingenuous. Let us dispense with the pleasantries. This merry band of dissidents people are calling warriors of darkness. They have slain Sin Eaters, and by all accounts the Crystarium is complicit in their villainy. And now I hear reports of your people obstructing my soldiers. So I must ask, what exactly do you think you are doing?
I might ask you the same thing. It should be clear, even to you, that defeating the Light Wardens represents the world's only hope of survival. Even now, the people of Lakeland and Ilmeg rejoice in the return of night. For 100 years, they yearned for a means to fight back against the Sin Eaters, and at last they have found one. Yet you choose to stand idly by and do nothing. Why?
Why? Because this hope you cling to is nothing more than a fever dream, an exercise in futility. Even should you slay the Sin Eaters, the world as we know it is beyond salvation. With what little land and resources remain, the people would be free only to starve. Before long, they would turn to violence, then to war, and ultimately usher themselves unto oblivion.
Do you only believe in the best of man, or do you believe in the best of
They require a firm hand to shepherd them from the edge. The hand of a king. Nay, a god. I will see their dreams fulfilled, their wishes granted. I will give them peace, order, and they shall never want for bliss. Men are fickle creatures who entertain vague ideals without the faintest notion what they cost. But a little fear can go a long way towards helping them realize what it is they truly need. Sanctuary. And they shall find none in this world save that which I afford them. That is why the Sin Eaters exist. To unite the world under my dominion.
A paradise fit to grace the 8th Umbral era.
What was that?
A minor epiphany, nothing more. You have always held sway over those around you. Those who defy you must submit or die. What sits before me is the inevitable result of bloated privilege and unchecked power. But man is more resilient than you think. His achievements are not the product of violence and bloodshed, but compassion and understanding.
This, I believe.
This calamity is but another crisis to be overcome. And we will, once we eliminate the Sin Eaters.
You poor deluded fool. These people care not for the morrow. They care only for the now, and the contentment they lack. What good is a paradise to them if it is 1,000 years in the making, or even 100?
You underestimate them, Lord Vorrcer. They see further than you think. I have beheld it in the blood and sweat and tears of those who would sacrifice everything for a future they may never know, that their children may never know. I have beheld it in the hopes and dreams of those who came before, which we bequeath to those who come after, that they might in turn build upon the foundations laid by our forebears. These are the bonds which hold man and his world together, not your gilded chains, and I will resist your every effort to shackle him.
This is everything. This is one of the most this is genuinely one of the most important
You will
cutscenes in the
continue
entire
to support the villains hunting my sin eaters?
With tremendous enthusiasm, for I have faith in the future they would build.
Why do I even bother?
This scene is what made the Exarch one of my favorite
Fools,
characters.
the lot of you! So naive! So painfully predictable! Did you imagine I did not know your mind? That I would wait until after this meeting to dispatch my forces? Even as we speak, they march to the Sin Eater's defense. Insurrection will not be tolerated! The people of this world are mine to rule, mine to command. And you are no exception! What? How did he?
The genuine confusion.
Insolent swine! I will not stand for this! Do you hear me?
I genuinely don't think Vorrcer's voice actor gets enough credit, because if you actually pay attention to a lot of his delivery, it's real good. Like, obviously he's hamming it up because he's supposed to for the character, but like, there are subtleties in there, including in later scenes. Hey, C, good to see, glad to have you. Also, E-Machine, to say good to see, glad to have you? Because if not, good to see, glad to have you. Also, Tam, I'm sorry about that for your job on your birthday.
You speak for the Knights Blessed?
I do. I presume that is your doing. If you've come to parley, I must insist that you first return him to us.
You're in no position to make demands. By Lord Vorrcer's decree, Raktika now falls under the governance of Yulmore. You will henceforth answer to us.
Is that so? And the children of the Everlasting Dark have acquiesced to this madness?
We have reached an accord, yes. Too many times have the Knights Blessed shunned Yulmore's overtures of friendship. The risk that you harbor hostile intentions has grown too great to ignore. Therefore, his lordship has claimed dominion over this forest and bestowed executive authority upon the children of the Everlasting Dark.
In his wisdom, Lord Vorrcer has agreed to recognize ours as the only permissible expression of dark worship. It's one true faith. You and your false creed are a blight on these woods. A foul, unholy corruption that must be cleansed.
Depends on what you mean by hypocrite, AC.
Little wonder the Warrior of Darkness visits both Lakeland and Ilmeg, yet shuns Raktika. Your perverted teachings hold blessed
more zealots,
shadow
yeah.
at bay.
They're less hypocrites and just more zealots that then are actually working against their own, you know, desires. Like just what he said.
You
He
have
still wants the
accepted
warrior
the yoke
darkness.
of Yulmore to spite us, then. Fools. Darkness will never return to these skies while they hold sway.
Those of you minded to obey his lordship are to make for woven oath with all haste. We will leave you, but you may have time to prepare.
Woven oath? Are you suggesting we abandon our fate to join those zealots?
What has your faith afforded you thus far? Nothing! We will guide you along the righteous path.
And should we refuse?
Anyone found here upon our return will be considered a traitor to Yulmore, and dealt with as such.
Mood bean. Mood. Discarding English. I mean, yeah, zealotry. It's not surprising that it reminds you of them. But yeah, this is a great example of what I mean by like voice acting. Like, if this scene didn't have wasn't voiced, it might still be good, but it'd be a big difference. So like, imagine a lot of ARR being like this level of quality of voice acting while it's going on.
We will discuss
Still
these
not-
developments after I have tended to our casualty.
Cathra, I can't really tell you because of spoilers, but effectively it has to do with his devotion to protecting the Oracle of Light. There will be an answer within the next couple episodes of us playing. I'm sad that we never get to learn more of the Children of the Night. I mean, we'll learn we'll learn more when E3 comes out, for sure. Yeah, seems amazing. Really challenging to replicate Exarch's speech patterns. It's so unique, just how it shows how good his writing is. Yeah, which is really interesting because at the face value, right? I feel like his patterns of speech are not necessarily that. They're not that complicated. It's not about elevation. It's not, but it's a combination of a speech pattern of someone who speaks with antiquity and awful youthful idealism, which is a very interesting combination. God hath been afflicted with the most terrible and efficacious poison. We have attempted all manner of healing incantations. Alas, his condition remains unchanged. At present, we can but slow the poison's advance. I pray it will ill afford us sufficient time to find a cure. Just one second. I need to check the quest line because we may end up calling it there. To the proof. Yeah, okay, we're gonna finish put to the proof, and then that's what we're gonna call it for today, because it's the end of the 74 quests. Wow. We're... Shadowbringers go... Shadowbringers sails along, man. Did I say Children of Night? Because if so, I meant the Children of Everlasting Dark. How fareth young God? The poison spread throughout his system long before he was brought here. At present, there's naught we can do but try to ease his pain. Do not blame yourselves, my friends. All that can be done has been done. I even had we reached him sooner, it would have made little difference. The children employ countless poisons. Finding a suitable antidote is a nigh impossible task. What of the rest of the blessed? How have they taken the news of Yulmore's generous proposition? With anger and dismay, we can hope to oppose both of them and the children. I consider a conviction of all the knights blessed that we might consider their ultimatum, but I know how they will answer.
Master Matoya, I am truly sorry. We cannot abandon our faith. But there is no reason for you to suffer for our decision. Your work is not yet done, and you still have time to flee. Flee. I am not wont to run from my troubles.
Trailer line!
In fact, with Elio's arrival, I am minded to take to the offense. Eulmorian's presence here plainly stems from a desire to protect the light warriors. I say we seek it out and slay the creature before the return. Were darkness to fall over Raktika, they would have no cause to remain. All of which is rather easier said than done, unless of course you finally decipher the tablet? I have, as a matter of fact, and with it we can prepare everything we need to master Shema. What say you all? We will need to act quickly, but I believe it can be done. We cannot deny our fate, but one course lieth before us.
Well, we are the villains, are we not? We slay the wardens. For the Knight's Bless, and everyone else.
Good. I leave the bless in your capable hands, Runa. Very well. I see that there's no changing your mind. By all that is dark, I swear to keep the blessed safe. According to the tablet, we will first need to obtain a seal used to identify the allies of Ronka in times past. One such seal should be waiting for us in the complex of underwater ruins not far from here. You have some experience with subaquatic excursions, do you not? Then this should prove a simple task for you. The ruins we seek are at the bottom of Lake Tusinekta. While you see to that, Minfili and I will remain here to help shore up Slitherboug's defenses. Your aid would be greatly appreciated.
She said, Death hit the nail on the head, re-exarch speech. Also, he's a fan of the passive voice, if I recall, which you do a lot of, if you do a lot of writing. It's funny, because a lot of, like, passive, active voice and a lot of that stuff are things that I know intuitively, but I always forget the vocabulary of which one applies to which. Like, for instance, first, second, and third person, I know them, but I always forget which one's which. You try to avoid overuse, but totally works on him. Yeah. I mean, it just goes to show, too, like, that you never... There are always exceptions to the rule, but you also have to understand the rules and understand why you're breaking them when you're breaking them. Do they ever say why the Light Wardens seek out the nearest living thing upon release? It's just that, it's not that the Light Warden does, it's just that the ambient light, it seeks to enter a host. It's just so much light, and it seeks to, like, you know, instead, it can't dissipate because there's already so much ambient light in the world. So it needs, it kind of just seeks out a host, not with cognition, but just as a, you know, naturally does it. Why it's specifically drawn to living aether could be akin to why Void Centaur as well. I mean, it's different, clearly, but...
There you are, ready for a swim? The seal we seek should be stored in a chamber somewhere inside the ruins beneath the lake. However, the entrance is seemingly protected by a subtle locking mechanism rooted in the symbolism of Ronkan culture. The Ronkans sought to live in harmony with nature, considered certain animals to be sacred. Foremost in their pantheon is the snake, portrayed as the protector of the wood and the arbiter of life and death.
The Ronkan serpent!
Wah! Below it were 4 others, each equal in rank. The curl, crystal curl, woo! The colibri, the opo-ofo, and the wolf. Characterized as the bringers of liberty, words, enlightenment, and harmony, respectively. To open the chamber containing the seal, the tablet states that one must pay due deference to 3 of these beasts by placing one's palm on monuments wrought in their image, and that this must be done in a specific sequence. If my interpretation is correct, the order can be discerned from the 3 commandments which follow. Give praise unto the snake, by its strength draw down its prosperity. Be as the opo-opo, rival thy kin, as all parts seek the betterment, so too does the whole. Be as the wolf, move as one. Peace comes to all who seek harmony with their kin. The tablet says naught of the placement, size, or appearance of the monuments, alas. Hopefully all will become clear when you reach the bottom of the lake. Go safely.
Snake, Oppo, Wolf. Scream! Yeah, exactly. Leave for a bit, we're in one of the best Shadowbringers areas. Bling, welcome back. A little bit? We've been here all day. What do you mean, little bit? Why is that not working? Why can I not sing? Let me go. It's shift control, right? Am I crazy? Oop. Am I going crazy, guys? Control space, right? Is it control space? Yep, no, I'm just a crazy. Thanks, Jade. Good to see you. Glad to have you, Jade, by the way. Ratika has such good music. Can I say something like that heathenist? I don't actually like Lahi that much. Like, I don't like civilizations that much. Like, it's a great theme. Don't get me wrong. It's a perfectly good theme. But, like, I don't love it. I love the meme. Control space. Yeah, I just was pressing all the wrong buttons. Thanks, guys. I'm so used to I just fly above water and then fly in on my mount. Like, that's how I always do it. Lahi indeed. With serpent, Oppo, wolf. Something stirs elsewhere in the lake. In the darkness of the lake, and now to see your love set free. Now, God, now I want to just play Alan Wake. I also don't love Lahi. Meme deable. What? Not sure why they just... All good. Where is... There it is. Kingdom of the Crystal Curl. We need an archaeologist with a whip. Oppo. I don't love it all the time. I have to be in a certain mood for it. The tribe area variations, but I love the tribal. Well, I love the tribal version a lot more. That's part of why, honestly, I was gonna go to bat for it more. It's because I actually think that there are versions of it that I like a lot more. I think it's. I also want to be very clear. I may not love it. I think it's the perfect theme for this map. I wouldn't change it. And like there are plenty of map songs that are not my favorite. It does not mean that I want them changed, because I want variety and I want, like, you know, not everything can be Mare Lamentorum or map 6 of N1. No, it's wolf. I don't know why I clicked on that. Cotton milkshake. Bring the boys to the yard. I like solid Ishgard day theme more. Yeah. The vocals remind me a lot of Nier music. Yeah, I totally hear it, Jade. I wouldn't even be surprised if it's actually the same singer. Because I know that they were working together a lot at different points because of the collaboration stuff. I don't know if it is, but I wouldn't be surprised. Can we take a moment to respect whoever taught chocobos how to swim after already breeding them to fly? Yes, turns out that chocobos are not only beastkin and cloudkin, but also wavekin. Also, look, I didn't realize they had such a custom animation. Look at that. Look at him, like, glide through. Like, it's actually almost like a better animation than their flight animation. Huh. The door opens to reveal a pedestal upon which there's a medallion. You take it. Seal of Ronka, which is an owl. Fukuro. Today's lesson in Japanese. In Japanese, owl is Fukuro. You're welcome. I want to see how that went. Does the concept of milkshake exist in 14 if they don't even have ice cream? But then again, they do have lassi. I mean, do they not have ice cream? I am certain that there is an ice cream item of some kind. I'm not 100% certain about milkshakes, but I am 100% certain about there being an ice cream item. Well, Stupid Death and Hollow Knight Steel Soul Run ended underneath King's Edge Nailmaster Arena. Sorry, Tam. They cut through the water. Yeah, thought they do have ice cream. Yeah. Chocobos are now penguins. Here, real quick. I'm gonna pull up Garland. Did you find it? There's such a weird pause between it. This medallion, it bears the owl insignia of the Empire. There can be no doubt this is the seal of Ronka. Well done, Elena. We can begin our preparations to enter Yishma in earnest. Okay. We're gonna call it there for today because that's the end of the 74 quests. If Bean or V, if I could get you guys to start doing the wrap-up stuff, I will get that going. In the meantime, I'm gonna find the answer to this ice cream thing because I know it's either called like Sweet Treat or something. I know there's an ice cream item. I've seen it before. I've sold it before on the like shake. Does anyone in chat know what it was called? Sherbets and shaved ice. Is sherbet? Am I just thinking of a sherbet? Sherbet. Well, it doesn't even pop up when I'm just type in FFXIV ice cream and see what pops up. It's probably just gonna pull up the cooking book. Roll and berry shaved ice, sea salt ice cream. Ooh, hello. No, that's probably just someone's name. That's probably not an actual item. Yeah, it's just a guild and someone far into Kingdom Hearts. Oh, this item. What? A wondrous parfait. Okay, a parfait. Does a parfait count? Parfait is either two types of dessert. In France, where the dish originated, parfait is made of boiling ice cream, egg syrup. Parfait, maybe. It's not really ice cream. Not really. I think I just assumed that I saw. I must have just assumed that I saw the parfait and thought it was ice cream. Okay, I'm interested what the definition is because also if there's only a definition about how it's prepared, then it means that effectively it could be the same thing. What is sorbet? When you see the worlds in Desert Man, you ask yourself, what is parfait? You can definitely expect a sweet, creamy temptation. In culinary world, by the way, means a semi-frozen, firm mass that isn't necessarily sweet. To make a parfait, the ingredients are fairly mixed together, thoroughly poured in a smooth mold, only then chilled to produce a smooth, firm mass, which is made perfectly. It can be even be sliced. The basis of the parfait is egg yolk, usually whipped cream or beaten egg whites, as well as sugar, of course, and rather than cream and tasty flavorings such as vanilla. Yeah, so if they can make a parfait, they can make ice cream. There's nothing that would stop. And also, you know, ice crystals and all that. There's nothing that would stop them. Okay, I'm gonna head back. Hi Des. I'm gonna head back to the tree for the wind down here. I know they have a few shaved ice. There's something close to it. Sherbet shaved ice. Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. Roll and berry shaved ice exists. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, shaved ice, super no surprise. I can kind of appreciate, like, okay, if you could kind of justify that might exist, but maybe ice cream doesn't. But no, they have all the requisite materials to make it, and all the requisite equipment and material science. If you enjoyed the stream and you aren't a member of our Discord, why not come join us at discord.gg Eorzean Archives. We'd always love to have new people. You can come join us for all the events and wonderful other things we do. We do get together. We do a lot of content. We have events like maps and PvP, and we have glam events coming up with prizes, all sorts of fun prizes. And none of them are egg-related this time. Do you enjoy the words and written format? There's more lore at eorzeanarchives.com where you see a lot of Naniri's written lore. A little Blue Bird told me we can find on Twitter, where Ray Ray posts a lot of our fun little snippets around the world of Eorzea. How do you think it will take for ice cream to exist in 14? I think it already probably effectively does. Just because we haven't seen it doesn't mean it also doesn't exist. Like, for instance, there's times where, like, there were items that created and exist in Alamigo that you may not just had access to because Stormblood wasn't out yet. So it may be a Charlian thing, but it just hasn't come out yet. You know, grade 4 artisanal sky builder sorbet. Yeah. I want to see a scantily clad archivist. Well, we don't have those yet, but sign up for Patreon anyways at patreon.com, where you support us by getting your name in the banner above my head, the name at the end of videos. You get special badges and rewards over on Discord. It goes a long way towards supporting us. Merchandise and stickers on Redbubble. I know a couple of you were just messaging me about how you bought some stickers. Does the parfait count as an ice cream? We ask the big questions here at the Eorzean Archives. Parfait counts as a sundae of sorts, if it has ice cream, I think. Ogres eat nature, not parfaits, and parfaits have layers like like, share, and or subscribe, because this is YouTube, and Bean is contractually obligated to say that, or that I may take their PCA away. But also don't lick things, because your body does not need those germs. However, I need those likes. I'm not alone here anymore. Yes, Raven, thank you for hanging around here. Lick ice creams, not likes. Lick ice cream's not the subscribe button. Yes, you can lick ice cream. Ice cream is delicious. Okay, I have to go do a Valentine's Day dinner. I told my partner that I would end early, and technically I did, because I will be 9 minutes early for the stream, but probably not early enough, and I think that they are both currently starving and would like to be going out. So, with that all said, I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Obviously, we won't have a stream tomorrow because it will be Wednesday, but we do have a short going up and maybe an end talker. I think I'll throw that up as well. Beyond that, Thursday morning at 10 CST, we will be ending Final Fantasy II with me and Aniri. If you have any interest in watching that, just head on over there. We'll also do announcements on the Discord if you want to be alerted about that. I know that's early for a lot of you, or you'll be at work, so no worries if you can't. Beyond that, Friday we've got book club. On Saturday, we've got our community event. Hey guys, what do you want to do for the community event? Anyone who's still here as we're winding down, let me know what you want to do, if anyone has a specific thing. Beyond that, yeah. Would love to see all you guys there. I can't tell you how much it brightens my day to talk to you guys and play with you here, as well as to converse and do stuff with you over on the Discords. And Keelhaul, if you're watching this later, know that I appreciated the conversation you brought up. For all that I may have reacted overly sternly as an immediate response. Sometimes I'm not always perfect. I'm like Thancred. I'm not a perfect dad, but I'm a good dad. Have a nice night, y'all. You too, Raven. Have a good night, everyone. Baja? Yeah, let's do Baja. Oh, but some people won't be able to do Baja. But, yeah, maybe we're going to do Baja. If you haven't unlocked Baja, yeah, I think that might be good, Jade. I think we might do that. Community stream idea, Road to Mentor, Guild Hests. Oh! That's a great idea, too, Tail. Maybe we'll do that a little bit. Both of those are good ideas. Ooh. Willow! Have a good night. I hope you're healing up good. I'm gonna wait for Jade to say her final thing, but in the meantime, I'm gonna end it there. I'm gonna end a stream. I'm gonna do it. Could do Baja when you get it on this character. Oh, that's a good idea, Jade. Although I might be doing that for the MSQ, but either way. Maybe we'll wait till Tail gets there or something? But yeah. Have a good night, everyone.